Here's Luke Altmaier. First down, and he's taken down. And it's Terrell Bernard. And he has 15 and a half career sacks now.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Altmaier steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
That one picked off, and it's a pick six by Jalen Petrie.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
They're going to throw, and they're going to score. It is Thornton celebrating with his teammates.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, May 3rd. Starting the early part of the fifth month of the year. Really not that far away from when you start to have various conferences with their media days in July, Cowboys and NFL training camps in July, and then, of course, then what we have in August leading up to the college football season as well. A lot to get to. A couple of notes on UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. Also, a note as well when it comes to the Big Ten. Jack McKenzie sent it our way. The chat room is going fast. 254-339-1122. Also, the chat room and the text line. The text line's available for you right now. Jack just sent this earlier today. This is from Action Sports, actionnetwork.com, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. We mentioned this last week, negotiating settlement to join the Big 12 in 2023, which is a year earlier than anyone could have expected. And now you're starting to even hear or at least see quotes on what the money could be. Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. Brett McMurphy negotiated a settlement, $17 to $20 million range, which would allow the schools to exit the American Athletic Conference early and officially join the Big 12 in July of 2023. And if, in fact, that happens, the AAC, by law, requiring schools to provide 27 months' notice, $10 million exit fees. Without the settlement, the schools would not be able to leave until a year later. And now it appears, like Brigham Young's come the 23rd no matter what, that we will see the possibility of the 12 to 6, the 14-team conference. So that's just an update. Brett McMurphy does a great job covering college athletics as well. And then also this note, and we'll get to the opinion. Big Ten, from Dennis Dodd at CBS Sports, aiming to new media rights worth up to $1 billion. That's not a surprise either, but that's a lot of money. He's thinking about it. Depends on how many years we're talking about, and the longer the better, because that does bring some stability, the longer the TV grant of rights to whatever the future might be of college football.
Well, look, if it's shorter than, 15 to 16 years at $1 billion, I mean, that means there's big money out there for the Big Ten. It makes you wonder what everybody else is going to get. So if the Big Ten's at $1 billion, then the SEC will get more than that, and everybody else will get less than $1 billion. But how close to $1 billion can you get? So I don't know. I mean,
Jim Delaney of the Big Ten, former commissioner, signed a 6-year, $2.65 billion deal in 2017. So billion is relative. Is how many billions? Is it how many per year is it going to be with the new TV deal with the Big Ten?
Yeah. So is that $1 billion a year they're going to get?
The Big Ten is in place to make a deal before the Pac-12, Big 12, of course, even the SEC's new deal with the ESPN begins in 2024. And so, yes, the thoughts are, based on how he's written this, the new deal begins in 2023, could be worth a record-setting $1 billion per season. That's not bad. That's not bad, and it depends, again, how long it might last. 254-339-1122, the chat room available again. And I think, in fact, before I even signed into it, the chat room was going in on some of what we said about UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati, too. Abram Smith will join us today at 3:30. He's now with the New Orleans Saints. 3:45, Buccaneers second-round pick Logan Hall out of Houston, went to Belton High School. David Ubben on college football, the NIL, and more. And then Craig has his off-the-radar Houston's John McClain, former Houston Chronicle columnist John McClain at 5:35 in Paul's Top 5 today as well.
Glenn just asked on the chat room, or not on the text line, 254-339-1122, if that is that per team. No, it would be overall.
Per year. The Big Ten's contract, if in fact all goes according to plan, would be $1 billion television contract for the entire conference per year. And how that breaks down remains to be seen.
So you divide it by 14. That's what they get per season. So $1 billion. Each team would get that divided by 14.
80-something million. It'd be 80-something million, which, of course, is right now, that's just, it's hard to explain. Overall, per year to the Big Ten. Craig, how you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, I mean, we saw the $1 billion figure. I saw that like 3 weeks ago. So, yeah, I mean, that's what's been in line for the Big Ten for what's been, the latest rumor, scuttlebutt, whatever. Yeah, they're going to make a lot of money. I don't know. I'm getting tired of talking about so many people making so much money. It's just like money. But it's NIL, and that's network deals, and that's what we're in the avenue of. And we know, and we've known, and we will continue to know that the Big Ten is going to be really strong. It's not a shocker. It's what's been expected the entire time. Guess what? The SEC is going to sign a massive deal too, and it's going to be over $1 billion. And the only thing that's actually curious, that's actually a question mark, is just what the rest of it is for everybody else. I mean, that's more interesting to me than really what the SEC's deal is or what the Big Ten's deal is, because we know they're fine no matter what. Like, there's no danger in any way, shape, or form of them losing a team for any reason. There's no danger in them not having a deal that's worthwhile. There's no danger and anybody not feeling like they're making very much money. So, yeah, the rich get richer in the Big Ten. And, when you have big brands like Ohio State and Michigan and Wisconsin and so many others, I mean, that's the kind of firepower that you have in their history as well. So, they get big ratings, they get big deals, and, good for them. But, how does it shake out for the Pac-12 and the Big 12 over the next couple of years? I mean, that's really what's going to be interesting, because that's going to be the game changer for college football. And by game changer, I mean, if you've got two conferences that are making over $1 billion easily, clearing it, and I don't know, what's the Big 12's deal? If it's like $200 million, and I'm just throwing a number, but if it's half that, which you'd probably expect it to be, I mean, is that sustainable? Is that going to be able to keep everybody happy? Is that going to be able to keep them competitive? And I think those are the questions that come up, but we don't know the answer to that until we know what kind of a deal those other conferences are going to get. We know it's not going to be anywhere near the SEC or the Big Ten, but how much do they get? How much can they thrive on what is out there? But yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see where the Big Ten lands as far as networks go and streaming and all those different kind of aspects as well.
Well, you would think, though, that the higher the Big Ten goes, the higher the SEC goes, and they're going to go as high as they need to go, that it only can help the Big 12 or the ACC's got so many years left, or the Pac-12. Because, yeah, you could have one conference getting $1 billion a year, and then the other conference, let's say there's the 12 teams, and again, not with Texas and Oklahoma, if they each got $40 million, which would be not enough, but a lot better than everyone thought back in July at the end of last year when the Texas and Oklahoma story hit. But let's just say each of them got $50 million, which might, there's no way. Everything seems to be going up. $50 million is a $600 million deal, and that's almost less than half, or a little over half of what the other conferences. But you mean to tell me, let's just say that was true, and I'm throwing out numbers. I don't know. You don't think that the 12 teams wouldn't take $50 million a year? Even if it's $50 million less than everyone else, or $40 million less, or $30 million less, there were thoughts that the possibility could be $20 million. And right now it's about 40. So they're just throwing out some numbers. The higher the other ones go, to me, I know you may say, well, that's less money. No, I think it's better for everybody. The more the Big Ten, the more the SEC. Doesn't mean the other conferences will get close to it, but they're not going to be completely just like 80% difference.
My goal for the Pac-12 and the Big 12 would be to get more than, not settle for more than half. So if you can get 3/4, you can get $750 million, then that to me would probably be good. Can you get that? But make sure it's just not half. Like if you're just saying, like, if the Big Ten's $1 billion, if you're going to settle for half that, then I think that probably puts in what Craig was talking about of, can you maintain competitive when the schools are getting definitely twice as much as you every year?
Yeah, the chat room's talking a lot about it as well. And by the way, Aaron Wilson is on probation. He joined Scott Frost in a one-year show cause of 365 Sports. I lost my 365 Sports hat at Six Flags on a roller coaster.
Unacceptable.
Jump off the roller coaster.
Well, look.
And find it. And Aaron, until we see a picture of you with the hat on, I don't know if we'll read any of your Texas Tech stuff.
Everyone knows that you're supposed to go backwards when you get on the roller coaster, or put it in the cubby.
Yeah, you got to turn that around. Or you just put it between your legs, or you don't wear it, Aaron. And I know
it's a rookie mistake.
By the way, another Texas Tech basketball player. Right? It's not as if they don't have some coming in, but I saw this Malik Wilson entered the transfer portal, averaged 2.5 points, but a guy coming back entered the transfer portal, Texas Tech basketball. Some of the reactions were, my heart doesn't hurt, but I'm crying, and things like that. It's nuts. Of course, the McCullough yesterday, that really set everybody back quite a bit. And who knows what's going to still happen with Matthew Meyer and Baylor as that continues to go down.
I mean, I think we know as far as him and Baylor goes, but we don't know about his decision as far as the NBA draft or transfer portal, wherever that may be. I'm not banking on him being back at Baylor. I've seen no signs to show or point to him coming back to Baylor. And the signs coming out of Baylor are pointing him away from the school. Not like pushing him, but just they're not pointing to a return is what I'm saying. They're pointing to the opposite. They're pointing to an exit regardless of what his NBA decision is. So, yeah, I mean at this point it's just, waiting for him to make his announcement just so it's official, and then we just move on. And, he'll be a great guy to, I'm sure, call in a couple years and talk Baylor basketball still and do all that. I mean, the guy spent a lot of time in Waco, but as far as ending his career, I don't think it's going to be well, maybe he does go to the NBA draft, and maybe his college career does end in Waco. Maybe it does, but no idea which way he's leaning at this moment.
Joey Foster, what rules are you going to enforce, Scotty, when Scotty B was talking about Lincoln Riley and USC and the stories about tampering? David Ubben will join us in about an hour.
What rules are there?
Yeah, there are none, and so that's what Joey was saying. Who's going to enforce it? West Virginia has been tampered with 5 times. Can't do a thing about it. And, of course, they've added a few of their own players. Terrell, what's up, 365 Sports family? Long time, no live. Terrell, nice to have you on the show today.
You know, and the thing is that there's plenty of laws on the books all throughout the states about, varying, things that NIL can or can't do, but they're probably intentionally vague because I think for a couple reasons. Either those who passed the laws thought the NCAA would take them and fine-tune them and say, well, here's what the specificities are inside those, or they're intentionally vague, as most laws are, so that people with money can get around them. And that seems more like the option B because nobody's breaking any laws. Really, I mean, I'm sure some people might be, but as they go by the letter, but nobody's breaking any rules because the laws are written such that, okay, well, it can't be used as a direct recruiting inducement. Well, the transfer portal is not a recruiting inducement. I can go in there anytime that I want. And then when I go to sign my NIL deal, even if that was concurrent, as long as it fits within the laws of that state, I think you're fine.
I don't even know how. I'm going to read this. This
is great to be a blue blood, isn't it? It's great to be a blue blood. I mean, you make all the money, and look, hey, you carved out a history, and you have a big fan base and all that. You know that comes with the territory. So, I'm definitely not knocking the blue bloods, but I do think it's just funny the way it's set up. It's very much like our country, and it's like any other business. The big boys get the big piece of the pie, and then everybody else kind of fights for scraps. And if you were one of these big schools that were struggling, the transfer portal was a gift in your lap. And I know it's benefited others as well. But now you can be USC and just bring in Lincoln Riley, and it's like, hey, let's go grab the best receiver in the entire country. Boom, go. Let's go do it. And it's going to be interesting to see everybody keeps saying, oh, there's going to be a correction. There's going to be a correction. Where do you see that coming from? Because I keep hearing people say that, and I don't know where that correction is supposed to be coming from. And, there's just, I don't know, this crazy wave of news that we've gotten, and it's fun to kind of soak it all in. And I know college football reporters love it because it's something to talk about every day. I think that's why they love it more than anything. I think they love it more for that reason than they do the players actually getting paid. I think it keeps conversation going, and that's why it's encouraged more so than maybe talked about in a different light where we do analyze it and break it down rather than just dismissing people when they have an objection to anything related to NIL. And the quick way to kind of shut that down is like, oh, you just don't want players to get paid. It's like, no, that's not it. I just, I went on this yesterday, but just looking at the, fact Addison's in the portal now officially. I mean, we knew that was coming, but that's official now. He is in the transfer portal. It's just going to be crazy to see how this continues to play out.
I received a text from a very successful high school coach. I'm going to leave his name out of it. But he just was sending me a text about my birthday, which I appreciated. And I said, hey, by the way, this NIL stuff now within college transfers. And he's told me about even high school players that he was having recruited had been offered some sort of stuff like that. Whoever passed this stupid crap has no idea about sports or probably anything else. I said, they didn't, and they dragged their feet so long, the dam broke, there was nothing. And I said, I'm not against individuals or players getting paid, but I'm worried now about what is the team concept of sports. And he said, no doubt. Then he said, I'm okay with players getting some money, but no cap on what they get paid is ridiculous. There is some deep pocket boosters in a lot of places. This is a guy who has multiple players, and almost every year at least one or two blue chips that are recruited. College coach was at my place today. Our place today, and said that having that they have to text, they get a text from players saying, you all are in my top 5, but can you pay me as much as the other school? This is text that a college coach is getting from a player, a prospect. The recruiter then has to then contact his head coach. Tell him what the recruit wants as far as money, and the head coach then will say, yeah, we can do that, or let me check, or tell them basically to go to hell. This is from a high school coach who has players recruited every year.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I went on a little bit of a rant on the podcast earlier today, and here's my thing with all of it right now at the moment is, again, before somebody says, oh, you're anti-NIL, you don't want the players to get paid, but no, not that. But what I do think is being lost is, while it is great that people are getting money, this has all just become about money again. And I do think that there are a lot of people who either didn't play sports or just, I don't know what their experience was, but it's just really strange to me to see so many, especially college football reporters nationally, who, again, I believe that they love this more than anything because it's chaos and it's constant tweets and it's constant things to talk about. And hey, it's been great for us as well, and we're talking about it. We're going to continue to talk about it. All that's well and good and everything. But I think, stepping away from just big money flashing and the game itself, just as a human being, it is a little bit alarming to me that not that life lessons, I mean, the money part is important here. Anybody having more money is important. It makes your life easier in many ways for the most part. But I do think there's this total disregard and just throwing away of all of the other things that aren't named money that come with being a college athlete that are just completely disregarded, like they don't matter in any way, shape, or form because you can't put a price on them. And I'm not saying I'm not saying you don't do NIL because these things matter more and no, NIL stays, it's good, everybody make millions, do all that. But let's not lose sight during this process of the lessons learned and the life struggles and the sticking it through. And I had that perspective more so because watching this last year's Baylor team, had this happened, had this roster been put together maybe a couple years before, we're not seeing this run. Because Jalen Petre's getting offered by USC to go play for $1 million, and Terrell Bernard's getting plucked by Texas to go play for $500,000. You know what I'm saying? And instead, what happened was, because of the timing, those guys stuck it out through the most BS you will ever have to stick out, and they grinded, and they lost, and they took their lumps, and they got their asses kicked, and then they won. And then they turned right around after getting that taste, and then they got their asses kicked again and made fun of and dragged through the mud, and then they had the year that they had this year. And this year would not have been as special without all the struggles. It wouldn't. I mean, it would have been great. You would have celebrated it, but it would have not been the same if we didn't know the backstory to it. And that's why I think for people who have followed it, it's a little more personal. And I think, in talking to Terrell Bernard yesterday, do you think he's a better young man now because of all that he went through versus what he would have gone through?
Abram Smith is going to join us in 10 minutes.
So Terrell Bernard going through multiple head coaches and all of that, at any point he could have bailed. And right now, especially if it were to happen during this time period, he really could have bailed and then bailed for money and done all that. And that's great for him. And that's great for his family. And I don't want to dismiss that or say that that's not right, because that's not what I'm talking about here. But we can celebrate the money. We can celebrate NIL. But, man, can we have some perspective as human beings as well that, this maybe isn't just chasing the money the healthiest thing in the world for individuals, that maybe you do have to stick it out and fight through, and maybe you do have to be on a losing team for a year to appreciate the winning the following year and what it took to get there. Because if Baylor went and did exactly what they did this year, but they did it with a bunch of hired guns, it wouldn't have been as special. It was special because those guys went through what they went through, and they're all better for it. And I'm not saying that Jordan Addison can't go play for a year at USC and make however many millions of dollars and, learn lessons and do all that. But I just think there's this big dismissal of education, for one. It's nothing. People act like just a free college is
just
nothing.
Academic education. You're talking about education of growing up and living
at
life.
Baylor, financial classes and, mental health and all the different things that come with that. And we they do that too. It's just nothing. That's just free and it's nothing and it doesn't mean anything. And there's just, I don't know how to adequately explain it. There's just a part of the soul and a part of just being a human being that it's getting lost and clouded by money. And I've seen that happen all over, pretty much everything. So it's not surprising that it's happened here. And you can argue that I totally agree. It's about time because the schools were raking in all the cash and it was all theirs and they just got to sit on their big pile of money and just, not pay anybody. So that wasn't right. But I don't know. I think we're losing the the forest from the trees as far as just like the human being side of this. But, you know, so long as somebody's making millions of dollars, then it's all good, I guess. I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but.
No, you make total sense.
Let's try to, we'll put a bow on this. It's great. Great points, great emotions, great philosophy on it as well. We're going to ask Abram Smith that question. Would your career been as, I don't know
fulfilling?
what fulfilling's a great word. A big word for me. But fulfilling, had you gone from one place to another as a hired gun compared to what, and not only him, he had to deal with the knee injury and switching positions as well.
Yeah, I do think, I think when people say there's a correction coming, I think it's not going to be one that people are probably going to be fond of. What I think is if I'm one of these guys like Life Wallet Clown in Miami, if I'm that guy, if I'm him, the transfer portal's to me where that money is more valuable because I know that guys like Nigel Pack can help me. I think where the correction might come is in the initial recruiting. Those numbers might go down and the money might go into the transfer portal, which then makes it even hard. Like recruiting's already hard, and now it's a 365-day year thing because you've got your own players and all the things that can be tampered with. But that's where I think any kind of correction would come. But until new rules happen, it's going to be just piles of money thrown around.
Here's the deal. Jordan Addison entered the portal. Prior to him, while he was still at Pittsburgh, there are allegations that he received some sort of offer. Xavier Worthy, while he's enrolled and also on scholarship at Texas, there are allegations he received. This is not once they got into the transfer portal, which a lot of times they may not go in the transfer portal. Xavier Worthy never did, but you're exactly right. We've lost sight. I know that everyone wants to win. Everybody's greedy about money and also winning, right? Rings and glitz and glamour. But there does seem to be, and I don't. You probably said it better than most anyone could, that there's something missing in the soul of a football player, an athlete, or anybody in team sports.
And again, I just want to make my position clear. This is not. It really has nothing to do with. I mean, it does have to do with NIL, but it's not having to do with the actual act of it, of a player receiving money or being sponsored or whatever. Like, I'm not even touching on any of that. I'm just saying, in general, we've become so gobsmacked with just the money talk in a very short amount of time. And it's fun, man. It's fun to see, I know it sucks for Pitt fans, but, it's fun for us as college football reporters to have the Jordan Addison story to talk about, or the next big transfer Baylor gets, or the next big transfer Oklahoma gets, or whatever. Like, I enjoy that, and it has made it, more exciting in a way on a day-to-day basis, and more, I guess, in some ways like the NFL, although they do have their time periods. So
and
I'm not,
cap.
Yeah, and a cap and all that. So I'm not, this is not, what I'm saying, against any NIL or anything. I'm just saying, like, while we're going through this process and we're trying to figure it out, like, the adults that are in charge, are they just making this all about the money? Like, it's about more than money, though. And I know some player who's 18 who has $1 million flashed in front of him probably thinks that money is the only thing. But there are life lessons. Like, these coaches didn't get into this just for the money. You listen to Dave Aranda talk. It's not just about the money. And I know everybody's obsessed with money, but there's just that human element, those personal lessons you learn, those trials and tribulations, not getting the starting spot, but then earning the starting spot, not playing, but then playing 2 years later and being a part of a championship team and you stuck it out. Whereas now, hey, I lost my starting spot, I'll just leave, or hey, I'm on a really good team, but rather than try and put us over the top, I'm just going to go take this deal to jump over here for a year. And that's all fine, well, and good and free market. But there's just that human element that's starting to just completely disappear. And that's just worrisome to me in general for our society.
Let's read some chat, Craig. Great stuff. Appreciate it. Mike Bean. So here's the course correction. Let us say schools get these guys and donors pay a lot of money and then they don't win the Natty. Are they inclined to do it again and again and again? From Chris, Congress needs to do what the NCAA couldn't, bring order to chaos. From Scotty B, eventually there needs to be regulations on transfer portal. Matthew Lee, I see it as a business in the business world. Everyone expects to get a lot of pay for not even proving yourself. K. Hustle, the schools and coaches robbed the players for so long, the college economic system is out of whack. From Daniel, preach, Craig, I totally agree. I can't remember this name. From Bal Guestjar, Oklahoma State has turned themselves into a pillar, especially after Oklahoma leaves. Joey, we will see after this year, but if West Virginia has another bad year, then we have fallen at the wrong time in basketball and football. Let me go. Chris, the key to ending the portal is to treat all athletes as workers. These schools should be responsible for taking care of all students' health issues in all sports responsibility and for responsibility payments. What were you going to say?
Well, the schools also already pay for, we have an intern who got her freaking tonsils taken out on Baylor's dime. Like, they already pay for all. Like, everybody acts like they don't get anything already. And again, this is, you can't even say anything because then it's like, oh, you don't like it? No. But they already get medical. They get food. They get boarding. They get classes. They get books. They get all that. So the medical part's taken care of, better than most of your average people. So as far as, they should get that, they get that. And there was kind of 2 or 3 different topics that were actually amongst that string. That's why I was like, hold on a second. But, I
don't have to respond to each one of them. I'm just reading some of them.
I know, but I want to address somebody if they mention or ask a question. So just sticking with the NIL part of it is, I agree with you that the universities rob people blind for years and years and years. I'm not even addressing that at all. I totally agree with that. Again, totally agree with players getting money. Totally agree with NIL. But I'm just hoping as a human being that we don't lose sight of the personal side of this because we're so blinded by the money grabs and the transfer portal that we just don't realize hey, there's probably a lot of young men that aren't learning lessons that maybe they could be learning if the system was different or the system was the way it was as far as just having some sort of rules. But the money part, I'm not against that at all.
Here's one of the scenarios. We had when Jalen Smith's injury, then now players start to opt out of bowl games because they don't want to get injured before the draft or whatever. Wait until some player leaves their team at the end of the regular season to go play for a team bound for the college football playoffs. And we say, well, that can't happen. Who knows?
Coach in Waco did it, and the team didn't quite get to the playoff, but he did it right mid-season.
What sport needs, what we need is almost everything in our culture. We need people who have been in power or to influence step up from the media to head coaches and ADs for the sake of the greater good. Athletes do get insurance. I know this firsthand. So many people don't understand what these athletes get. It is ridiculous. When we come back, Abram Smith of the Saints, go ahead, close it out with a comment.
No, I'll just say, there's a lot of, they don't get anything, and that's not entirely true. I think there's a lot of people that are disingenuous with their arguments about this, and they paint it, and that's typically who I'm talking about. If you raise anything of, well, they get that or they get this, don't forget to mention this. Oh, you don't like NIL, you're not in support of the players, you're a racist, and, whatever else. And it's no, I just have one little disagreement as far as them not getting anything. They get quite a bit, actually, and you can argue, yes, that, it's not worth the millions they bring in, but who are we talking about? Are we talking about the star quarterback or are we talking about the third-string center? Because it's not the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But yet, those guys all get the same across the board at the school. So let's not act like they don't get anything.
And after all of that, Zachary Whitfield on the chat room. J.A. is coming to USC. Hell yeah, can't wait to see him with big emoji hearts because it is about the wins. And I get that. And J.A., Zachary, if that happens, it happens. Appreciate that. When we come back, let's hear from Abram Smith. Also today at 3:45, another former player who was drafted number 1 pick in the second round, Logan Hall with the Buccaneers. Sikkim, 365 Radio.
At Allen Samuels in Waco, we're committed to taking care of our customers, and that means having as much new inventory on hand for you to choose from. During the Memorial Day sales event, shop our large selection of 2022 cars, trucks, and SUVs to find the vehicle that's right for you. Need maintenance or repair? Let our skilled technicians take care of your vehicle, and we'll get you back on the road safer than before. We're not here just to sell you one car. We're here for the long haul. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We are loaded up these next 2 or 3 segments. Abram Smith, a part of the New Orleans Saints, will join us here momentarily. Logan Hall of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and David Ubben of TheAthletic.com wrote a story about the NIL and much more as well. In the studio today, Jack McKenzie and Armstrong Sims running the mothership on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Inside Texas reporting that Jahdae Barron will stay with Texas, so wonder what deal they came up with after the Oregon flirtation. Oh, wait, Oregon was contacting him? Oh, wait. Weird.
Allegedly.
Weird. Yeah. But Jahdae Barron staying with Texas.
Abram Smith, New Orleans Saints running back, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Abram, thanks for your time. What was the weekend like, waiting, wondering, and then eventually after it's over, you get a call?
Oh, thank you for having me, but it was hectic, you know. You're sitting there, it's 3 days, 3 days long, and you kind of get, I guess you could say, a lot of people would say, twiddling your thumb, you know. Just wait on that phone call. So for me, a lot of stress, a lot of trying to get my mind off of it, but very stressful for the last those 3 days that I was sitting there watching the draft.
Abram, to wind up with a team like the Saints that even though like new coaching staff, they're probably going to do things offensively a lot the same way. Everybody's back there. How does that make you feel, especially looking at the way that they use their running backs? They use a lot of different guys. How much of a fit was that for you?
I think it's a great fit, honestly. Just being able to know, like, you know, there's Alvin Kamara there, you know, it's like Ingram, a couple dudes in the back. Just seeing how they use their running backs and, you know, the schemes they have like set up for them, and knowing that, you know, it won't be a full workhorse deal, even though that's my deal. I know how to share time with, maybe it'd be Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. I know how to share time, so I think it's a perfect fit for me just to be there with the Saints. And, there's, of course, there's Jeff Ireland, and, he comes out of Baylor. So just being over there and just being somewhere where I'm loved, I think for me that means more to me than anything else.
So, Abram, Jalen Petrie to the Texans. You got Tyquan going 50th to the Patriots. Terrell gets drafted to the Bills. JT Woods, Ebner, Barnes, yourself, you get picked up after the draft. So does Xavier. So does Raleigh. So does Jaron. So does Drew Estrada. 11 guys, man. 6 draft picks, a new record. Just how did that make you feel seeing not only yourself but all your friends and all your teammates having that moment as well?
I mean, I jumped up and down when I saw the first name. Of course, Jalen, when he went, seeing everybody else go, I mean, I was more happy for the guys, and I think they're probably happy for themselves. So just seeing their names pop up and getting all excited at my own little draft party made me happy for them. And of course, I FaceTime them. I FaceTime Xavier, Xavier Newman, whenever I got the chance to talk to him. So just being able to get in contact with them and let them know, like, hey, we did it. Hey, we're moving on to the next level, and we're doing it as a group. So I think for me, I was very happy for them, and I was very proud of us.
Abram, we've had a discussion here. As you know, there's a lot going on now with movement in college athletics and also whatever's happening with NIL. None of us that I know of are against athletes getting money. But now there seems to be, even when someone's on a roster, getting either a call or, hey, why don't you come into the transfer portal? We'd like to do this. And some big names are involved. Would your career have ever been as fulfilling as it was, or Jalen or whoever else, had you all been interrupted by any of that rather than what you had to go through, the ups and downs as a student athlete at Baylor?
Honestly, I mean, of course, it's all the beginning of that, but we're never interrupted by any of that. I think, you take a couple phone calls here and there, you meet people after the game, but, other than that, the NIL deals for all of us are kind of mostly through our own brands, our own T-shirts, our own stuff like that. I think right now when I look at it, I still think none of my play, none of how or where I was going to be would have been interrupted by any of that.
So do you think it's going to be on individual guys to kind of decide what they want to be, as opposed to maybe being swayed by a lot of this noise out there?
I feel like, I think you want to see what's best for you and what better fits you, rather than being swayed by, maybe an offer here, a deal there, maybe some money here for another school that might want to take you in the draft or in the portal. So I feel like personally, individually, I think people should look out. The guys should look out for themselves and kind of just see what better fits them rather than where the money's at, especially in the college level.
So, Abram, let's take the NIL part out of this, just your journey in general from being a freshman all the way back in 2017. Obviously, the program is kind of limping along at that point. You played, after that, but there was a time at linebacker and then back to running back and all that. The ups and downs of the team itself as well, to where you guys go out on the highest of notes possible. Just how did the last few years shape you as a man? How did the last few years of the ups and the downs shape you as a person and help you become who you are today?
A lot of adversity that we not only myself individually had to battle through, but you can kind of see it on the teams. When we first got there, 1-11, and kind of just had to grow to 2 different cultures, of course, and then I think shaping me as a man, I think it shaped me to know that, hey, not everything's going to be set in stone, and, eventually you're going to have to adapt to new things here and there, and that, life itself is hard, but, there's always, like I like to say, it's not going to rain forever. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. So, and when it comes to shaping me as a man, it's there's going to be obstacles in life. There's going to be hard times in life, but at the end of the day, the hard times are going to fade away and the good times are going to show up.
Abram, correct me if I'm wrong, but was former Baylor running backs coach Jeff Levy someone who recruited you even when you were at Abilene, after a track meet? And then, of course, we know that there was a transition to Coach Rule. But who was the first one at Baylor to get in touch with you?
It was Coach Levy.
Yeah.
So I was always going to the camps and all that, and I met with Coach, Graz. So I always used to go to every single camp that had Baylor in it. And, I remember there's times in drills, you know, they'd always call me out in the drills and, like, you know me and kind of just, I guess, in a way, kind of just point me out from everybody else in the drills. And then, of course, Coach Levy would come see me at Abilene High. So when it came to recruiting, Coach Levy was the one who came and saw me.
So you love Baylor. There's no question about it, because no matter the transitions from then to Rule to whoever else to Aranda, man, you must have been as all in as you could possibly be from day one.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love Baylor. I mean, I got several photos of me in camp. I have a photo of me actually in the stadium like a while back. I mean, I was sitting there in the stadium. We were watching Baylor play Oklahoma. And I remember I was sitting in the stadium. I was kind of standing there. My mom took a picture of me. And she was like, she showed me, and I posted on Instagram. It was like a future Bear. And I remember that was like one of my photos that I took, you know, the most, I guess you say, the most pride in it, because like I knew that's where I wanted to be. I've been wanting to go to Baylor since I was like in middle school. So being able to just go with that opportunity and get the opportunity to actually be there, I was all bought in. It didn't matter who was coaching or what was going on. It's like, for me, that's where I wanted to be. That's the kind of team I wanted to be a part of. That's the kind of community I wanted to be a part of.
Abram, as far as, you know, just the family and your friends, what was the reaction like when you got that phone call from the Saints and saw it turned out like it might have been a better thing not getting drafted for you ultimately, as far as like the contract situation and whatnot goes, but just what was the celebration like for the Smith family and Abilene as well?
It was a pretty great overall celebration. You know, we're sitting there, and of course, you know, I was getting calls like during, like, I think it was like 6th round, 7th round. So just being able, it's kind of like, you know, you're negotiating like that little free agency deal. So I was getting calls in between, and I remember I told my dad when it was all said and done, I said, hey, well, you know, we didn't get the phone call we wanted, but we got a phone call indeed. So, you know, here we are. I told him, I told my moms all together. I was like, well, we're a Saint now. So, you know, that's where we're going. I'm going to New Orleans. And I remember hugging my mom. My mom started crying, so of course I got to cry. And then, you know, my dad, you know, he was kind of like keeping a straight face, you know, deep down inside, he wanted to cry. But overall, everybody's excited. I mean, like a lot of hugs, even popped the champagne bottle just for, you know, my mom, so that way she can get that video. But overall, it was great. Great overall celebration. Everybody loved it.
And you know a little thing about playing in the Superdome, don't you?
I know a lot of things about playing in that Superdome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So with the Saints, you know, just the talk that you've had with them since the match there, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but what have you kind of been told just as far as, you know, the next steps in the process and just kind of what they're expecting of you at this point?
I think I'm running from the go, pretty much. You know, as soon as I get there, I'm running the playbook right now. I got it on me. And I'm just understanding what my role is, and kind of just understanding what it means to be a running back for the Saints. And as soon as I get there, you know, I want a little bit of head start on what's going on, and I want to get rolling. Honestly, right now, I think it's a lot of opportunity for me just to make a quick impact and a strong impact at that level or at that organization.
11 players from Baylor are entering the National Football League, some drafted, some not, but all 11 have the same opportunity to go prove it, make a team, and start a professional career. Abram Smith, Abilene High School, Baylor University, now a part of the Saints, is a part of that 11. Abram, we enjoyed covering you. We appreciate you all the times. Your unbelievable senior year as a running back at Baylor, but even before that, thanks for your time.
I appreciate y'all.
Abram Smith and New Orleans Saints with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. We're going to keep it here. Logan Hall, who was drafted the first pick in the 2nd round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We had Logan on about a month and a half ago. He played high school football in Central Texas at Belton and then went on to have a very nice career at the University of Houston, and the number 1 pick of the 2nd round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Logan Hall now joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Logan, now the Tampa Bay had a pick at the end of the 1st round and probably would have taken you, but they had a chance to gain some more collateral. What was that like when they were coming up and you thought you might get drafted by them, but you had to wait until the next day?
Man, I was real anxious. But at the same time, I knew God was going to put me just where I belong. So I tried not to think about it too much, and I knew I'd be gone pretty soon in day 2. So,
how much did you talk to the Bucs in the pre-draft process?
They were definitely one of the teams that I knew for sure they liked me pretty good. There was maybe 4 or 5 other teams that had expressed interest similar to Tampa Bay, but you know, I knew when I was coming out at the top of the second, and I saw that Tampa Bay had the first pick, I knew I was, one of the top ones on their board. So I was definitely anticipating that, and it worked out amazingly. And I went first and the second. So,
Logan, you're teammates with Tom Brady. How cool is that?
Man, it's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what I mean, just what even goes through your mind when you think about where you started playing at Belton High, playing at Houston. I mean, I know the NFL had to have been a dream for you, but has it even sunk in that, hey, I'm on the Buccaneers, I'm teammates with Tom Brady? I mean, I'm in the NFL. Has that sunk in over the last couple of days?
It's getting there for sure. It's just unreal, man. I'm so gracious. So all the people that's helped me along the way, and the Bucs for sure for giving me the opportunity. And yeah, I'm definitely ready to meet Tom and learn things from him.
Logan, you grew up in high school, no question, from where you were at Belton early to where you were when you left, and then what you did with Houston. Can you try to describe the difference between you physically and also, even more importantly, mentally, from where you were, like a high school kid's listening right now, a sophomore or junior? Where are you now compared to where you were?
Leaps and bounds away for sure. Coming out of high school, I was a knucklehead mentally. I didn't have a lot of things figured out. And for sure, physically, I was a young boy. Now I'm a man undergoing, the nutrition plans and the strength training at Houston. It's done a world of good for me, as well as meeting all the mentors along the way. So I'm a totally different person. I guess you could just say I grew up and matured.
You were picked by a lot of the mock drafts to be a first-round pick. You were thought of to be a first-round pick. You mentioned you kind of got a little bit anxiety, but did it disappoint? What's the difference business-wise? I know Drew Pittman's one of your agents. What's the difference for you business-wise?
I'm not too sure. I know that I would have made a couple million more for sure if I would have went 27 versus 33. But at the same time, I get to my second contract quicker going into second. I'm happy with it. It is a really good contract, and I am happy with it. A couple $1 million would have been pretty cool, but I'm all good, man.
What was the reaction of your family and friends like?
They were fired up. It was awesome. Really vocal. Just people were crying, people were yelling. Just real happy for me, and everybody that was there with the people that were there from the start. My day ones, all family that I love and care about. Really close friends, and obviously Drew. Got a lot of love for those guys, and it was just awesome seeing them, celebrate with me because it wasn't just my day; it was their day. We all made it.
Logan, you're going to be playing next to Vita Vea. He's an amazing defensive tackle. The Bucs drafted Joe Tryon-Shoyinka last year. Their defensive line is very much a focus. Plus, Devin White, Levante David behind you. You've got to be pumped up about this defense overall.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Playing next to Vita Vea, hopefully guys will focus on him a little bit more so. So I'll have some opportunity to get back in the backfield and disrupt some things. But yeah, those guys behind me and everybody across the line, the Bucs have a real good defense, and I think I fit really well, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
What have your talks or conversations been with Todd Bowles?
Really cool. He kind of told me his vision for me, and just what he kind of expects me coming in. Real cool. He's a good guy.
Logan, what did the University of Houston mean to you when all is said and done?
Oh, it means everything. Houston's done an amazing job nurturing me into the man I am today. Not just the city, not just the school, the city. Got a lot of love for Houston. They did a really good job. So,
your birthday was just last week, wasn't it?
It was.
So what a birthday present. I just saw that. I looked it up. It just popped up April 22nd. What a birthday present. What, could you have asked for anything more?
Absolutely not, man. Getting drafted, going this early, being able to celebrate it with my family, and to go somewhere as awesome as Tampa Bay. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
What do the Buccaneers expect from you? Have they said that, or is it still kind of, I know you got to, eventually there's get-togethers, you'll be down there, they have the rookies, all that stuff, and eventually the veterans. Did they say much about just what they expect?
Well, they've definitely made it known that they think that I add value as a pass rusher on their defensive line. And, I agree, and I will try and, fulfill that role. I feel like I'm dynamic and disruptive at three positions. So coming in and, doing a good job for them, I think they have high hopes in that regard.
So you're in the NFL, man. You are in the National Football League, which I know that you, based on what you said, when did that truly become something you thought was realistic?
I'm not entirely sure. I would say probably the transition from my junior to senior year. Knew I was pretty good, had a pretty good junior season. But the guy, above me, his name's Peyton Turner. He played defensive end at Houston. He went first round, 28th overall. And I don't think he's better than me. He's a good football player. No knock on him. But, I've competed with that guy, trained with that guy, ate with that guy, my entire career at Houston. And seeing him go was really an affirmation, for me. And that's kind of when it became a reality. I was like, okay, I can do this. Time to lock in.
So what will be, I don't know, your first big purchase or your first big celebration? How are you going to celebrate this one? I know you had the get-together and all of that, but you going to go buy a car to celebrate? Like, is there anything like that in the works?
I definitely have some plans, man. I don't have it all hammered out yet.
Gotcha.
Got to take care of, getting my dad a car, looking after my siblings, and I definitely, I want a truck. My big self is driving a sedan, and it's been that way.
You're a big, tall drink of water.
Get some little room here. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I know you'll be smart about that. How much of a steal did the Patriots get with Marcus Jones?
Oh man, they got a great football player, great teammate, great leader. They got him for a good deal, man.
Okay, if you had to tackle him, what would your strategy be?
I'm not tackling that guy. He's too fast.
Yeah, you'd need one of those nets or something like that.
Your pursuit angle would have to start 70 yards ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey, Logan, one more thing. As you know, Houston's going to be joining the Big 12, and it could be as early as 2 years from now. No, a year from now, based on some of the I guess, reporting that they might join in a year. When that
2020.
Yeah, well, 2024 is the original, but now it looks like it's going to be next July 1st, 2023, with some exit stuff that they're working with the conference, the American Football Conference. As a player who was there, when all that went down in September, what did that mean to the University of Houston football program?
Oh, it meant everything, man. Houston's a great program, great school, and to be able to go to the Big 12. I'm speaking for sports exclusively. It's going to be able to keep a lot of talent in the city to stay in the city. And that's going to be amazing for our football team, track team, all across the board. And I know we're all real fired up and real proud and excited for that.
I think the Big 12's excited too. Everything kind of worked itself out after the Texas-Oklahoma story popped, and then just a couple of 3 weeks later, it looks like everything has settled down a little bit. We appreciate your time, Logan. Good luck. Are you in Houston? Are you in Belton? Where are you right now?
I am in Houston right now.
Okay. Enjoy whatever you have left, and eventually good luck as you head to Tampa Bay to help be a part of the Buccaneers.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you for your time.
Logan Hall from Belton. I remember when he was a player at Belton, and he had to get more physical. He had to get stronger. And you could see kind of a little bit of that. You hear about what he had, the talent because of his size. And then he turned into a hell of a player.
I remember doing Midway versus Belton games, and he was younger, obviously. He would have been probably a sophomore or something. But I remember seeing him, his size, and he wasn't – I don't think at least he was being heavily recruited at that point. But I remember seeing him and going like, geez, I mean, why isn't he if he's not, and thinking like, wow, it's a big dude who's got some athleticism and, didn't cover them the next couple years because the districts changed up. But, I remember hearing from people who kept covering them, kept hearing his name, and he's obviously making, progress and developing. And sure enough, by his senior year, there was Houston and I'm sure many others that were trying to get him, but really just blew up at Houston. Really blossomed there. They did a great job in his development. And, there you go. First pick of the second round. So that was a guy who was not getting recruited by all the big boys, and yet here he was going 33rd overall. So I think that's a big tip of the cap to him and to Houston and the job that they did.
Would have been great to be a first-round pick, but as he said, his second contract, will be a year earlier. He doesn't have that fifth year. But Logan Hall, hell of a player, really grew up the last 3 to 4 years.
And it's still good money. That second-round money still pay rent with that and you go buy a truck or whatever. So, yeah, the next one will hopefully be the massive one for him here in, 3-4 years. But, to be the top pick in the second round, I don't think you're complaining too much about that, even if it is a couple million less. But still good to go.
David Ubben wrote a story yesterday about the NIL, name, image, likeness in college football. And we'll have him on to start the 4 o'clock hour. Craig's off the radar. Paul's top 5 today as well. Hall of Fame writer and columnist John McClain. His thoughts today at 5:30. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Just over 1,000 stores around the country. A lot of you on YouTube that watch us from wherever you are. Perhaps there's a Marco's near you. We love the pizza, the pepperoni magnifico. When we order Marco's Pizza, we usually order 2 different types. One, the pepperoni magnifico, and online you can go to marcos.com and get a discount for that. And also the all-meat pizza. We like the thin crust. You might like it, maybe even just the regular crust. They have 3 cheese blend topping. Also, there are wings, and there are sandwiches, and there are salads, and much more at Marco's Pizza. Over 1,000 stores, the fastest-growing pizza chain in the country. Bob Mock has 5 now in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, Robinson, and in Hewitt. Bob Mock, Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine.
And of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio. Thanks to Logan Hall of now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thanks as well to Abram Smith of now the New Orleans Saints. We're now joined by David Ubben. It's the end of college football as we know it, and here's why I feel fine. David wrote the article, and theathletic.com has covered college football for quite some time. David, kind of explain the column, if you would. I think everybody, it's almost like blue and red states or yes and no or whatever. Your thoughts about the NIL?
Well, I'm almost hesitant to even call it NIL because it is at this point, and by all intents and purposes, pay for play, which I think has been long overdue in college sports. And, you know, the idea of actual pay for play from the universities has a bajillion different hurdles to get there. We won't even get into those, but they sort of, as I mentioned in the piece, sort of accidentally legislated themselves into this sort of duct tape and twine backwards pay for play, which introduces a lot of issues, but ultimately it gets players paid, and that's a good situation.
David, what do you think will be eventually legislated into this to deal with at least the tampering part of it?
Well, I mean, tampering, the rules are there. They're just not going to be enforced. The NCAA had some representatives at the coaches convention back in January, and they met with a bunch of coaches and basically said, "Hey guys, you're on your own. We're not gonna enforce this." So the rules are there. It's just a matter of a lack of enforcement. Now, a lot of that they don't want to be seen as limiting players' movement or compensation because of the Alston case. But if they want to sort of penalize coaches for tampering, I mean, I guess in theory you could. But I do think as more and more players are entering college with multi-year 6- and 7-digit deals, the idea that somebody's going to be able to come in and buy you out of a contract that you've signed, it's probably not that likely. So I do think you're going to see some of the player movement slow down as these collectives begin signing guys to multi-year deals, in some cases exclusive, where they hold your name, image, and likeness rights for a long time. So you can't, it's a little bit like Griner rights, in a TV deal for a conference, in that they hold your rights. So you can't monetize your name, image, likeness elsewhere. So I think that can slow down some of the movement.
David, is there any downside to any of this that you feel or that you see?
Well, fans are not happy right now. I think that's why I wrote the piece. Is fans feel like everything's changing, and the idea that a guy like a Jordan Addison can sort of up and leave post-spring, I don't think that's good for the sport. I think all this movement is probably not good for the sport. I think players should have it. But I think having as many guys in the portal and as many big names on the move is probably not great for the sport as a whole. Now, I don't think the players should have to worry about what's quote-unquote good for the sport, but you can see what happens in the world and say, that's probably great, that's probably not great. So I think that's sort of, the biggest thing. And I think that this whole space is very, very unregulated. You might have some bad contracts. You might have some of these collectives that don't pay out things that they promised, and hopefully those things get pushed out. But I think anytime you have a space that's this new and this regulated, or this unregulated, I should say, it's ripe for some issues, and I think those are the biggest downsides in my mind.
And don't you think that's where like the biggest conflict is? Because I often see if anybody has like anything that even approaches a doubt about NIL, they'll quickly be painted as not liking the players getting money or anything. And I think most everybody's fine with the players getting money. It's just this chaotic, all the stuff that comes with that. So it's just, do you think that's kind of the collective thought right now among people is, hey, yay for money, but geez, can we just get some policing here?
I don't know. I think in general, most people, I think it's a majority that are happy with money, but there's still a lot of people that aren't, that don't want, quote unquote, the professionalism of college sports, as though they don't have $1 billion TV deals and, $100 million stadiums and $10 million coaches. I mean, that, it's a professional enterprise. There's a lot of people making money. So I think so. I mean, I think the movement stuff, I'm skeptical that that's really going to have that much of an impact. I mean, again, you hear all these people, threatening, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to watch anymore and all this stuff, and my interest is waning. I don't know. I think when you play your rival or a big game and your team is in the top 20, top 15, and you got another ranked team on your home field, you're either going to be in the stadium or you're going to be watching on TV. I think some of that is just sort of a bluff.
So how do they somehow gather this in, David? The NCAA they have no balls, no power. They don't even have a president here pretty soon. How do you feel? What would be a solution, in your opinion, if there even needs to be one, of how they can kind of keep this from completely going off the rails for long term, not just for while everybody kind of figures this out?
Well, it's not going to be the NCAA. I think if you can have I think cementing in some ways some of the relationships between these collectives and the universities, where the universities have some shared responsibility other than competitive balance, which I think is actually a pretty powerful motivator, as powerful as anything, where they have some sort of oversight on what these collectives are doing and the contracts that they're putting out there and making sure that they're paying out, doing all those things. I think that's the biggest part. I mean, ultimately, people are going to have to get used to the new normal, in which there's going to be more transferring than ever before because you're going to have free transfers. And you're going to have money. And so, I think multi-year contracts, again, I think will help slow some of that down. Will college sports end up making players employees? I don't know. I mean, I think that would be sort of the silver bullet, but there's so many hurdles to making that happen that I don't know that you're going to get to that point. I mean, maybe I wouldn't rule it out. I think it just depends. The one thing that I think might help you there is the coaches are the most powerful people on campus. And right now the coaches' jobs in managing their roster and obviously the collectives that are sprouting up have a lot of power. I don't think coaches love that. And so the coaches now are motivated to want to try and make players employees. And if you have a bunch of coaches pushing for that, guess what? It's going to happen because they're the most powerful people on their campus in a lot of cases. So that's sort of, I think, a solution that I've heard from a lot of people. But I think getting there, I mean, we could talk for 5 hours on how many hurdles there are to making that a reality. But I think for now, it's sort of just having the money and the collectives level out, because right now there's a huge amount of variance in how much money collectives have. And I think ultimately in the next 2 years, probably, the schools that want to win the most are going to have the biggest war chest, just like college sports have always been. It's a money game. The cost of admission is pretty high. You look at the schools that win consistently, and you look at the schools that have the biggest budgets, most of the time, there's a lot of correlation there. Except now, that money, instead of going to facilities and ballooning coaching salaries, is going to players. And so it's about shifting your funds and fundraising and having a collective that can do all of that. And for the near future, that's the goal, is having a competent, well-funded collective that can help you be competitive on the recruiting trail and be able to offer kids packages that are going to bring them to your campus.
David, if we got in the DeLorean and fired it up to 88 and went back in time to a couple different points, do you ever think about this had college sports just let Chris Webber make money off the jerseys and the players get that. Or if during the video game they said, yeah, especially knowing that all their guys are going to play it and see that, if they just would throw them a little bit of money, how much money they might be saving in these issues maybe wouldn't be as reckless as they are, and they could have been, at least more under the a view that the NCAA could understand.
Oh, 100%. I think if you had some common sense, probably more strict name, image, and likeness rules, because right now, you mentioned it, the NCAA can't do anything. If you do anything that limits player compensation, you're going to get taken to court, and there's a strong precedent in the Austin case in the Supreme Court, and you are going to lose, and you are going to lose handily, and there's going to be 100 lawyers lining up to take any athlete's case if you limit player compensation. Well, 15 years ago, that might not have been the case. You could have had some more strict rules that maybe could have closed some of these recruiting loopholes that, again, I don't even like calling it name, image, and likeness because it's not really name, image, and likeness. It's basically pay for play. So I think you could have closed some of those loopholes and made it a little bit of a pure enterprise. I still think ultimately players should be paid their value. So ultimately, I think that this is still more fair and equitable, but it is a little bit, it's happened really, really fast. And I think the biggest complaint is that the rules are not exactly clear. And the ones that are on the books, like tampering, are not being enforced. And that's a difficult spot. I mean, there's just a ton of frustration from coaches because you're trying to win, and some people are more comfortable skirting more rules than others. And everybody is sort of like, I don't really know what the rules of engagement are here. And right now, the schools that are the most aggressive and playing the hardest and fastest and loosest with the rules are going to succeed in the short term. And, you ask 10 people, you might get 10 different opinions on what the risk in that is. I generally think it's pretty low, but college athletics and college administrators are generally a pretty risk-averse group of people. And at some schools, there's a lot of conservative approaches, and at some schools there is not. And that variance is, I think as you lose more recruits and start losing more games, I think you're going to get a lot more bold. And I think that when you look at the schools that are the most well-funded right now, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Oregon, Nebraska, these are schools that are super hungry. And I think that correlation is very clear.
David, for the schools that don't have, hundreds of millions of dollars backing them, because college football, I mean, it's 100-plus teams, and there's maybe, 25 or so that are really the big money top dogs, if you will. Do you worry at all about collateral damage as far as the schools that can't hang simply because not that they don't want to, but they just simply can't? Do you see a fracture? I know there's been kind of that, end of days, everybody worried about this huge split. Do you think that, though, that is a possibility of where there is even more of a divide between the haves, the have-nots?
I mean, I think that what you're describing is basically what college football has been for the last 20 years. It's always been a money game, but again, it's just the money, where it's going is changing. The money is, again, the amount of money that you have correlates to your success on the field in a lot of cases. Texas notwithstanding, but other places it usually does. And so right now you just got to figure out how to get that money to players. And so, will the super conferences come eventually? I actually think that question is a lot more tied to the television revenue and the television contracts than the name of like. So you might be more motivated if hey, our donations are going to be down in the years to come because instead of it going to our administration or the university, it's going to players. We're going to have to shift our budget. Then you might be more motivated to say, okay, well, if we're the Big Ten or we're the SEC, let's go call Oregon and USC and let's kick the tires on, kicking out some schools that aren't maybe carrying their weight so that we can maximize our total number and make our pie share, our slice of the pie bigger as big as possible. So that's possible, but I think all this stuff is sort of interconnected, but it's all sort of independent as well. So a complicated question that we could talk about for probably 2 hours if we really wanted to.
David, I think the NIL is something that most of the big boys, and we know who the blue bloods are, those who also think they are, and in some cases they are. Do you think any of them ever expected that they could start getting poached? We've seen stories in the last 24 hours, maybe, involving Oregon going after a player at Texas or USC, and USC's names popped up a lot. Pittsburgh's a big school, but it's got a great history, some tremendous history. But it's not thought of in some cases as if when you think, but you think that they may, like, wait a minute, we thought this could help us. What do you mean people are coming after our guys? And wait a minute, we got to slow this down.
Well, again, I think, if you have exclusive or multi-year deals in the future, which are certainly coming, I mean, guys are already signing them right now in the 2022 class, in the 2023 class, I think it will slow some of that down. But I think you got to make your program a place where people, A, want to be, can get to the pros, and can be well paid. And obviously your degree is a part of that as well. And if any part of that is missing, you're probably maybe under siege for some of your best players. And that's just what it is. So, you want guys to be paid. You probably want to have them on, a contract that's probably as restrictive as possible, also being lucrative, and have a good program and have a coach and a coaching staff the guys want to come to the facility and play for, because they have a lot of power. And the whole my way or the highway thing that a lot of coaches have used to fuel their programs, that old way is not going to work anymore because players have a lot more agency and a lot more power than they did a year ago.
David, this isn't a question about like right or wrong or anything like that because there's nothing wrong with it. But just in general, your thoughts on the Jordan Addison story, just all of this talk that started a couple of days ago. Obviously, it's been everywhere. But just do you have a general thoughts on that story?
I mean, the tampering aspect of it, I mean, that stinks. I get it. That's not really great. So the fans that are frustrated with that, I get that. Because again, that is a rule that is clearly on the books that if a guy's not in the portal, you can't have contact with him. And whether that's direct or that's through an intermediary, obviously there has been some level of contact. So I get that, but that rule is not going to be enforced. So, if you're Jordan Addison and somebody offers you a ton more money and you still have a free transfer, then you got to do what's best for you. Because that pro career and that big money in the NFL, that's not guaranteed. If you got, $3 million or $2 million or whatever the money that you think you're going to get, 7 digits today versus rolling the dice and maybe getting 8 digits in a few years, but you can guarantee that now and still have a chance for that later, then you got to do what you got to do. So, this is part of all this upheaval that, when all the factors get together, that you're going to have situations like Jordan Addison. And I do think that specific situation is not great for the sport, but that's where it is right now.
Paul just dropped up. He saw a story, but Ross Dellinger has a story up. David Ubben, by the way, theathletic.com, does a great job covering college sports and has for quite some time. Paul, what's the title of that story?
Well, that now that the task force, the NIL task force that is the university administrators are finalizing additional guidelines that are expected to clarify that boosters and booster-like collectives are prohibited from involvement in recruiting, and that would be just essentially enforcing the rule, like you said, David, that's on the books that boosters can't contact them. But again, there's an easy workaround for that. There is, this guy? Call him for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, if you want to win, I mean, people have been working their way around rules for a long time, so we'll see. I think there's definitely a possibility. I think I've talked to people in the collective space that if there was one way to do it, that's what it would do. But we will see. We will see if they can actually enforce anything.
David, is this created, in your opinion, and I know you got to go, and we appreciate your time, is this created almost not quite what the NFL has, where every single month of the year has something that is going to happen that's big? I mean, they even make the schedule release in May now feel like it's almost a Super Bowl. The draft in April, the combine in February, the Super Bowl in February. Do you almost see that now happening with college football with this?
I mean, maybe. It's certainly possible. I mean, I think, the transfer portal has added a ton of intrigue to the offseason, and it's sort of like a second recruiting ecosystem of, who are we going to lose? Who are we going to add? What is our scholarship count and all those things? So certainly the offseason has gotten a lot more interesting with the transfer portal. I would agree with that.
David, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. David Ubben, The Athletic, at David Ubben on Twitter, with the story that he wrote about about college football today and the landscaping of today. Ross Dellinger with that story. That'll be interesting to kind of discuss as well. I'm going to respond. Go ahead.
I agree with him that it's kind of the way that it's always been. The bigger schools who spend the most money are typically the ones at the top. I do think, though, that their history has a lot to do with that. And the fact that if you grow up, have you ever known Ohio State to not be anything but just like one of the most talked about big brands and all of that? No,
they've had, and I'm 42, they've had maybe 3 to 4 bad years in my lifetime. And one of those was after after Jim Tressel left.
Yeah. But I think what does get eliminated to some extent, and I know what the answer is already to anybody who says, well, yeah, but just pay the players. And that's just the answer to everything. But like I was saying earlier, like not everybody can do that. Well, okay, if you can't do that, then you're just out of the mix. Well, okay, I get that, but I just think that kind of sucks, because that wasn't necessarily the point. But again, this is just years of inaction all boiling up. But I don't know. I think, the big schools are going to stay the big schools, and they're normally the big schools in many ways because of the money, but I think they also are big schools because of their history and because of the fact they've been around as long as they have and because that's what we've been watching all the time. And I do think that there are certain smaller schools that, that do compete and do become fun stories, and I guess just maybe I like it when it's not the top dog every single time, and I do like watching a team not go and win a national championship, obviously, because that's incredibly difficult to do, and the big boys are the only ones that win that. But, a New Year's Six Bowl or things along those lines that winning their conference, and I don't know, I feel like I'm being told over and over again, well, that just doesn't really matter because so what, all that matters is the big guys winning and the TV ratings and the TV deals and all of that. But I don't know. Part of the reason why I liked college football was not to see Baylor win a national title or Iowa State win a national title or whatever. But, hey, to see them, like, cause a little chaos and get to a Sugar Bowl and win a Sugar Bowl, like, that's a pretty big effing deal for those schools, And I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of like, well, who cares if those schools aren't in the mix? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that directly from him, but just in general, it's kind of like, yeah, it's too bad. And, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. But I just think that's kind of unfortunate is all I'm saying.
Who cares if those schools are on the mix? You're not somebody who lives and ties with those schools. So it's really dismissive of everyone wanting, like everyone wants the same thing. Now, can you get it? There's realism and there's not. But to know going in that there's no chance that you'll ever taste the championship is a harsh thing or whatever that is.
Which still is a possibility, although a rarity, and the exception in college basketball.
But they will tell you that they had no chance to begin with. And that's true. Well, Louisiana Monroe's never going to beat Ohio State for a national title. And so I get that.
A chance to play for one.
But I think you need the Louisiana Monroes of the world.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying.
Which is why if they want it to be pro sports, if they want it to be more professional, there's got to be more guardrails because even the Jaguars can figure it out and win a title. I mean, they can figure it out.
Because there's not a group of the Patriots and the Steelers and the Cowboys and all the Super Bowl champions from the history basically blocking them out of winning anything ever.
Yeah, there's a small handful that's won
it's
most
a
of
racket,
them.
is what it is.
There are still the opportunities for someone to win one.
In 2015, the Royals won the World Series.
Yes.
Okay? That's one of my favorite non-Red Sox World Series of my life because it showed. Yes. Look, last year, the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA title.
Yep.
And they did it by...
Had not done it since Alcindor.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't even Kareem. His name was still Lou. That's how long ago it was. So, they were allowed to because they were competitive balanced guardrails. Now, extrapolating that to many, many more teams and many more athletes is much harder, but... At least you can say, if you want to do this, there's a lane that you have to stay in.
Armstrong, we're going to continue this discussion. Will you get a picture of that University of Houston helmet? Can you get that wide shot? Is that possible?
Well, you can just put it over my shoulder, I think, right?
Let me see. The reason I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, see?
There you go. That's the new addition to our set, thanks to Juan M., University of Houston class of 2007.
Thank you, Juan.
Texted us about a week or two ago, sent it to Paul. And we got that up on the shelf. That's part of the addition of what we have. That we also have another part of the wall with all sorts of different helmets. But wanted to give Juan M. thank you. He said, "I love it. It looks awesome."
No, it looks great. Sharp looking helmet. And so anyways, I'm under no illusions that North Texas ever has a shot to win a national championship. But just the fact that they at least feel like there's an opportunity to go and do something really huge every year if the right things click is what you play. It's not all you play for, but it's part of what you play for. It's what you certainly practice and do all that for, is to just have a fighting chance. And I just feel like I don't know. It's all about the big boys. That's just all it is.
And that's why I think the simplest, like the simplest path you can put in with the least amount of making the big boys, pout about it, because it benefits them too, is the 12 teams. You put in the 12-team playoff, then at least you are taking away the ridiculously thin pinhole that they have that the Cincinnati had to run through.
Baylor and TCU.
Yeah, Baylor and TCU had to, and theirs was a little bit bigger than Cincinnati's, but still not very, very big. So you take that away, at least when North Texas gets that one season a lifetime where they're 12th, and they get to go play a 5th-seeded Michigan in a game.
Who cares? It's going to be a blowout.
Maybe not.
But it's a big deal for North Texas. It's a massive deal for them to even just be in that game.
Yeah. Who cares it's going to be a blowout? Yeah, sure. That's the case for 60% of sports, pro and college.
Yeah.
That there are blowouts. That the
How
teams
many years in a row did the Super Bowl, the greatest event in the country, how many years in a row was that a blowout? Wasn't it like 10?
Yeah, look,
well, not quite 10.
The Cowboys have won 3 in my lifetime, and only one of them was in question. And so
against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I know not everybody has a chance, but to at least feel like you have a chance means something. And I just hope they're able to maintain that somehow with just whatever, solution is ultimately out there. It's just that the smaller schools do matter. I know that the big schools could break away and create their mini NFL, and they'd get massive ratings, and they would be just fine and not blink an eye if program after program shuttered. It's not their responsibility, but I do think that is a huge part of college sports. College sports is not just Ohio State and Michigan or just Oklahoma and Texas. It's a lot of other schools, and that's part of what makes it college football and in the communities. And people just, are dismissive of that. Like, oh, well, nobody cares if, TCU's not in there. Like, only people in Fort Worth would care. But why are the people in Fort Worth not worth anything to you? Like, I mean, I know they don't bring in the big TV ratings maybe that you're looking for, but, we're just measuring, I guess, let's just be like anything else. Just measure people by their TV watching and the money in their pocket and not anything else. How about, they're fans, man. They root for their team. Like, the Cleveland Browns suck every single year, but they're one of the best fan bases in the world, right? Would you want to just toss the Cleveland Browns out of the way? No, because, hey, they're a win most of the time, at least in history. Hey, they're a great fan base. They, bring crowds. I don't know. I don't like beating. College football's always beating up on the little guy. And it is what it is, but let's just not toss the little guy over the boat entirely. Is all I'm saying.
The most lovable losers in baseball for 100 years were the Cubs. Everybody, and look, all it took was, a guy with a bunch more money to buy the team and kind of point them in the right direction. And yeah, there's going to be some ebbs and flows and things, but the Cubs finally won a World Series. All it's going to take for a lot of the little guys, the lovable losers, is just the right guy for a short amount of time. Is it going to be dynastic? Is it going to be is all of a sudden SMU going to get the right guy and turn into Alabama? But no, but that one little run can keep a fan sustained for the rest of their life.
Yeah,
or at least the ability to have a chance.
Yeah, I'm just saying is everybody just to feel like they have a chance, even if they don't realistically. And look, this is not even a diss to the big schools. It's just kind of the mindset of who cares if it's not OU Texas, then it doesn't matter. Or if it's not, some brand A, brand B, it doesn't matter. I think all these schools matter, even if you've never even watched them on TV before. They mean something to the place where they are. They mean something to the players on that team. And I don't think anybody's looking to route and throw those all away. But I don't know.
Here's the deal: the game back in December at AT&T Stadium between Baylor and Oklahoma State. It wasn't a complete sellout. That place was crowded. One of the largest crowds they've had for a Big 12 championship game. That place had people on pins and needles until the last basic play by Oklahoma State on the play by Jeremy McVay and then a couple of knees. That's what you're looking about. That's what you want, that ability to have a chance to win a championship and then, at least on occasion, You can't play for this because of who you are.
Yeah, that's all really. And, and that had several million people watching. And that's not just Baylor and Oklahoma State watching. That was a hell of a game, hell of an entertaining game. And, I would hate the idea of schools like that not having an opportunity. I mean, I know Baylor and Oklahoma State are going to do everything they can to stay with their heads above water, and they're in the NIL game. I know that. But I'm not even so much talking about them. I'm talking about the not so Big 12 or Pac-12 or SEC related teams. But hey, at the same time, having said all that, I think it's awesome that there is so much news going on in a way. And I think it's cool that every day there's, kind of something new to talk about and some new twist and new turn with a player or whatever. And it is going to be fascinating to see, just how quickly teams are able to reload and how the big schools take off even further. But, it's just trying to wrap my head around it all like everybody else, I suppose.
Let's wrap it around in another segment, too, as well. We will. Craig's got off the radar at 4:45. What a day it has been talking with you on the chat room, also with our guest as well, and, of course, on YouTube 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Still in Pipe, 1943, they opened up, and they're still just as good as they've ever been. And, in fact, in Waco, opening up a brand-new facility around the corner. It's still being built. There's still some work to do. But when I talked to Braden Embry, it's going to make them bigger, better, faster, stronger. And they've done that over the years since 1943. They had to get better. They had to get faster. They had to get bigger. And now they're about to open up the new facility in Waco that's incredible. They also have a location in Bryan, open every Monday through Friday, and, of course, on Saturdays from 8 until noon. Pipe, steel, metal. Things you need to build, commercial or real estate. Things you need to build the entryways into a nice ranch. Things you need that are heavy-duty product. They'll deliver them and unload them for you, and they've done that since 1943. PioneerBoys.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Preston Ebner checking in for Smith. Ebner split wide left. Chapin looking up top. He's looking for Ebner. Ebner's open. He has it. Touchdown Bears. A 61-yard score.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
My goodness,
now,
my
here's
goodness.
David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
The chat room. Speaking of meeting guardrails, Zachary Whitfield has joined the chat. I don't know if Zachary's been a part of it before. Big USC fan, and of course he's incited. Chris is a Pitt fan, so that's not good. That's no. But I mean, Texas Boyle, Markel, Biscuits and Gravy, and others. Lee Buttercup. Man, there's some going on right now. Some conversation. That's a whole new world right
I'd like
there.
to give Chris a lesson I learned when I was very young. And the Red Sox would, before they started winning World Series in 2004, and the Red Sox would constantly lose free agents to other teams. And then a lot of times, like, for example, Wade Boggs, who, when I was young, I thought could do no wrong. And then when the Red Sox didn't re-sign him, he went to the Yankees, and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was actually, like, at 12-year-old or 14-year-old Paul was like, well, that's going to kill me. That's it. Wade Boggs is gone. And eventually it all comes around. So don't get attached. Think of them as foster pets.
Especially don't get attached nowadays. I mean, why? I mean, the quarterback whose jersey you can buy now, which is great, that's long overdue. But, I mean, that dude might be pretty good for you for a year, so enjoy that. But then he's out the door to, the bigger school that calls him next. And that's what's, I think, the hard pill to swallow for college football fans, and somebody who's a Pitt fan. I mean, yeah, it's the name of the game. It's all fair and whatnot, but that's hard as a fan, like if you had a great playoff run and you had a quarterback that was under contract, you thought, for 3 years. And I know it's different because they don't have contracts, which is why they're probably going to have contracts, which then turns into a union, and it just spirals into something completely different. But, in the NFL, at least your guys are going to be there. Unless they pop a drug test or, kill somebody or do something stupid, they're going to be there. And they're going to be there for the length of their contract. And yes, there can be situations where a guy lets it be known that he wants out, and sometimes he is traded, and sometimes he's not. It all just depends on the money and how it all works out. And so, at least you have that. You know what the future looks like. I think the fact that you can't even really get too excited or behind a guy because he's having too good of a year. Like, he's going to be gone soon. I just think that sucks, man. Like, how is that fun? But, it's part of the deal.
College athletics used to be where you could go all in with somebody for 4 or 5 years. Basketball different because they, sometimes back in the day you didn't have to go to play college basketball. That's changed. But in basketball, you got to have a one and done. It's been that way for a long, long time. Football, you pretty much were able to grab onto somebody for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
and now you just.
But in basketball, then it was you had a guy who might be a one and done. He's a one and done. He's gone to the NBA.
Like Kevin Durant.
This is you have a guy who's got one and done talent. He has a really good year, and then he goes to Kentucky for $4 million.
I know.
That's what I'm saying is that it's just, typically if a guy had a really good year and he had the debate between the NBA and coming back, well, hey, I'm excited. Like Matthew Meyer, what's he going to do? If that was just a straight up situation, what's he going to do? Well, you didn't have option C. He transfers to Texas in the mix several years ago, but now he freely could. And I'm not saying that part's bad. I'm saying from the fan standpoint, that just from the fan standpoint, it's hard to probably get as invested in a player because you just don't know what the future even holds.
Other than Jordan Addison and the emotions we've heard or seen from Pitt fans or others about what's going on with that, the emotion that to me has been the deepest and most triggered was Kevin McCullough when he decided to put up two teams. Gonzaga would not have triggered Texas Tech fans. But when the logo is Kansas, it triggered Texas Tech fans. I mean, that's become, obviously, last year they had unbelievable games against each other. Both of them were fantastic. Matthew Meyer, when the thread about him entering the transfer portal or wanting to test the waters again with the NBA, that was fine. And then when there were a couple of things brought up about maybe going to North Carolina, even then there was, I'm just saying, some of the chatter. Then all of a sudden you heard Kansas in the mix, and people started saying, I hope he breaks his leg. Which is, again, the stupid, dumbest. You love when transfers come your way. You hate it when they're going to somebody else. It's like, well, you can't do that in-house. You shouldn't be able to. Don't put up a rival. Hey, that's all off the table now, man.
Yeah, dudes are playing for Georgia and Alabama, or Ohio State and Alabama like Jamison Williams.
Here's my point, though. You don't want Kevin McCullough going to Kansas. That's a rival, right? But it's okay when part of your football staff comes from an in-conference team. You didn't care about it then. And vice versa. It's not just Tech. It's everybody. Everybody's like that. We got to come back. Craig's off the radar. We'll be around the corner. Anything else we need to hit now?
No.
Okay. When we come back, Craig Smoak and Off the Radar, Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. They do a great job with being ahead of the curve when it comes to what are the best cigars. The 1964 Padron, I mentioned that. I talked to Carol. No, I didn't see Carol. I saw Ashley and Cheyenne. Last time I was at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. And she was, Ashley telling me about the history of the Padron 1964. The number one ranked cigar, they have it in their 48-foot walk-in humidor. And then without any list in front of me, nothing in front of me, Macanudo, Ashton, Cohiba, I mentioned Padron, Rocky Patel, Romeo and Julieta. They have Arturo Fuente, elite brands of cigars, CAO. They have them inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. So if you like cigars or you know somebody that does and you're buying them a gift, maybe a graduation gift, college gift, hey, that's a great place to be. On top of that, fresh coffee beans, you can have them. They can grind them in front of you or you take them home. And then they have the CBD products, the Vita Dreams. It will help you fall asleep faster if you toss and turn. And sometimes that happens because of stress, too much on your mind that might even be good news. You can't wait to get up, but you can't fall asleep. Vita Dreams is a gummy that you can get at Don Humidor and Coffee Beans that allows you to fall asleep much easier, peacefully, and you get that extra 30, 45 minutes or an hour of rest. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans. Tell Cheyenne, Ashley, and Carol Smokey sent you in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Sikkim 365 Radio Off the Radar. It's taking a look at a few stories around the world of sports, and we typically would try to take a little bit of a break from what we've normally been talking about, but I just have to read off this quote from Ross Dellinger's latest tweet because everybody's seeing the news of, you know, all of a sudden the NCAA is wanting to get involved here in the last 15 minutes in what has been going on now for, you know, months at this point. And people are already shooting holes going, I mean, what are they even going to be able to do? Like, okay, player sues them, takes them to court, and boom, it doesn't even matter. So I still don't even think there's anything that comes of this.
Well, tell them what it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, you just said it a little while ago. It's them, you know, putting in legislation or whatever to try to curb this NIL stuff. But it's not NIL. It's not. We don't even need to, like David said, we don't even need to call it NIL anymore. It's not what it is. It's pay for play, and I might just start referring to it as that from now on because that's more accurate. But the reason why I say all that is because this is from Ross Dellinger's tweet, and this is why college athletics is where it is right now. There is regret among several college leaders that they did not implement a permanent NIL policy last summer that would have barred booster involvement. College sports would have been infinitely better off, Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby tells SI. Well, no freaking kidding.
No, really, say the whole word. Say the words you want to. No, I'm kidding.
I want to because, God, these are the dumbest leaders of all time and the kings of after the fact having something to say. We were screaming about this, about legislation being needed because we saw what was coming. Everybody saw what was coming. We could have predicted the teams involved. I mean, Miami, USC would have been two of the first schools off the lips of everybody. Texas, A&M. Guess who's all like at the top of the party right now? The schools we would have predicted. So Everyone saw this coming. Everyone saw what it would turn into. Everyone saw Jordan Addison's situation developing. And here's the good old leaders of college sports. Well, we regret not doing something last year about this. And this is why you are where you are, where you have no control over everything and you're at the mercy of the federal government, and you really can't do anything because it's going to get shot down in court. That's why, because a year after everybody screamed and told you, not even a year, a decade after everybody screamed and told you, oh, dang, we should have done something last summer. No S.
Yeah, it is kind of like the Jerry Savile has a great bit about helmet laws, in that you're making a law for a head that doesn't believe that it needs a helmet. So look, if you're in a motorcycle accident and you crack your head open and a helmet could have saved you, you're immediately thinking that helmet was a great idea. And that's where the NCAA is like, man, that helmet. That was a better idea than we really thought about.
I'm just reading that quote. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I would be ashamed of even saying that.
The only reason it's coming up, though, is because there's this now even more so, like, whoa, wait a minute, this is insane. So it makes them look like they care.
I gotta tell you too, like, I'm pro players getting their money, and I'm not in any way, even though I have my reservations about where it all goes. I want to make it very clear, I'm not pro NCAA by any means. I do know they've been robbing blindly athletes for a while and got away with it for a very long time. And I think people just needed an adjustment in their wiring or the way they're thinking to kind of get over the idea years ago that, players getting money was going to be this big devilish thing that it's clearly not. It's just a pain is what it's become. But, I'm definitely not pro NCAA. They deserve all the blame for this. And they're getting their just dessert because, you should have done something last year. You should have done something 5 years ago. You should have done something 10 years ago, 15, 20. We could go on and on and on. But here you are, like everything else that you just let happen. Oh, dang, we should have done something. So there you go. All right, Brittney Griner. The U.S. has now classified former Baylor women's basketball player and WNBA star Brittney Griner as wrongfully detained by the Russian government, according to a State Department spokesperson earlier today. This is considered significant because it could be a path that eventually gets her freed from Russian custody, where she has been now for, like 3 months now, I believe at this point, or closing in on 3 months. She's there. She got busted with some drugs in her bag at the Russian airport. So she's got a smuggling case that's hanging over her head right now, and they're waiting for it to play out in the Russian legal system. But now the U.S. government is getting involved. They're actively seeking negotiations to get her back. And Lindsay Kagawa-Colas, Griner's agent, said, our expectation is that the White House do whatever, I guess that's a typo, the White House do whatever is necessary to bring her home. Roger Karstens, U.S. government's top hostage negotiator, will lead an interagency team that will be responsible for securing her release, and it gets into some more details, but that's the basic gist of there's a little bit of development on the Brittney Griner front.
I understand the terminology of smuggling, but smuggling mostly around the world, not in Russia, where nothing makes sense and everything's upside down, means that I am bringing large quantities of drugs into a place with intent to distribute them. Brittney Griner was bringing a very little bit of drugs with intent to distribute them into her lungs. That's what she wanted to do. Also, I don't know how many 6'8" loud lesbian drug dealers there are, because that's what she is. She's a very out there, vocal person about things. Like, that's not, so again, she's a political prisoner, and they're trumping that up because that's what they're doing to try to get anything they can. I hope this doesn't really land on Vladimir Putin's radar enough to where he makes an example out of Brittney.
I think he's got a few other things on his mind.
He does, but again, you never, he's a madman, so you really never know what's going on with that guy. And,
hey, Armstrong, do you have the logo? This is something the WNBA, I'm on their email thread because of players who were drafted. This is what they're going to have on the courts. I think there are 8 or how many teams. They're going to have that in certain spots on the various courts.
I think there are patches
maybe
as well.
on the court side and maybe patches, whatever, but that's part of the Brittney Griner thing.
Yeah, I hope that when she does finally get home that she can, assimilate to some sort of normalcy, because it's going to be hard. I mean, I wouldn't wish being in a Russian prison on anybody.
No, I wouldn't wish being in Russia, period, right now on anybody, or really, I'm fine where I am. I'll stick here. But, they're at least making progress there as far as Brittney Griner goes. 2 weeks from today, she will have officially been in there for 3 months in the Russian prison.
70-something days, yeah.
This was from yesterday, but any thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins popping for PEDs, 6 games, violating the NFL's policy on performance-enhancing drugs? He gets popped. The Cardinals obviously make a move over the weekend with Marquise Brown, so you have to feel like there was some knowledge prior that something was coming down. He swears like everybody else who gets busted, and I'll take him at his word. I don't, this is the first time that he's ever popped. He's been in the league for like a decade now, and, we have heard stories of guys that somehow have like tainted samples or whatever. But just thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins.
I think his thing was like he was a little careless. Like he
was drinking Caterpillar juice or whatever.
Yeah, he was doing something that, he didn't check. And, his excuse to me is kind of in the same realm of, and I'm not doing it just because I love him unconditionally, but Big Papi had a legitimate reason. I mean, a legitimate excuse. Now, whether that was what he was doing or not remains to be seen. But when his name got released in the Mitchell report, he was like, look, okay, I get it. I'm against steroids, but, we have one rule in America, and then we go back to the Dominican Republic, and things are different there. So I don't know what I'm taking in the Dominican Republic. Okay, well, whatever. That kind of sounds like DeAndre Hopkins' thing. It's like, yeah, I was careless and didn't really follow what the guidelines were in doing this. Yeah, I'll believe DeAndre Hopkins. And everything I've ever heard about him is he's like a really nice dude. So
when did he test? When
he
was out. Remember?
Yeah, but before you get 6 games, you've been tested several
of months
times
ago at least.
Yeah.
It was it was not like a recent drug test. It was within I heard him say it yesterday. I don't remember though if he said like January or I don't remember exactly.
Well, the reason I ask is if it was when he was out, we've seen, and I don't have the examples, but we've seen players who have been injured, and then all of a sudden they test for something like this, and you wonder if there's any kind of an issue with that. If they hurt, he's a little bit out of whack. I'm not talking about mentally, but there could be, their schedule's screwed up.
Well, how about this? How about the only time this seems to happen is when guys let their guard down. Don't let your guard down.
Yeah.
Because that's the only excuse that I didn't knowingly do anything. Okay, so if you weren't popping all that other time, what did you drink or eat differently that now you're popping? That should be very easy to figure out.
No athlete ever should not ask what's going in their body.
Well,
and most of them always do. Yeah.
I'm not even blaming DeAndre Hopkins here. I'm saying if that's the issue, that every time a guy pops, it's because they don't know what they're putting in their body, well, then know what you're putting in your body, and we'll avoid this entirely.
Under all circumstances.
Yeah. And so you were able to do it for 9.5 years or whatever, 10 years. Why now? Why did you just suddenly stop? And so I'm not saying he's guilty or anything, but just if that's the case, then don't slip up like that anymore. Don't not pay attention to what you're eating, and it looks like a lot of guys wouldn't be suspended if that was the case.
You wonder if he took something because he thought it would help him with his rehab.
You never know, and I definitely thought about that of like, he very well may have. I don't know. But, hey, if you don't know what it is, then don't take it. Yeah. That's bottom line.
Having had hamstring injury, a few years ago, and I was just trying to get back and live my regular life, I can only imagine, like, especially right at the beginning, where you're like, hey, I need to get back out there. Caterpillar juice? Yeah, sure. What the hell? I don't care.
Is that what it was?
Like you said.
There was some part of it. Okay.
Phil Mickelson.
Beaver tranquilizer. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What is beaver tranquilizer?
That's part of what he did not test. There was initially a report about testing positive.
That's a quote from Dodgeball.
Yeah, no, I know, but somebody had brought that up. That was not why.
Okay. Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson, do they have beef now? And this whole turn with the Saudi tour and everything like that, the whole LIV, what did I say this was the other day? The 44 or something like that, Golf Invitational Series. It kicks off in London, England next month. There's been a lot of just back and forth over this, a lot of hand-wringing by golfers and a lot of just kind of splits, in who's going, who's not, and all of that. Well, it's going forward, and it's going to get underway, backed by Saudi Arabia, but they're have been a lot of people who have been talking about that, and Phil Mickelson is one of them. And Greg Norman, who's in charge of this tournament, or is one of the head people, said there's no question Mickelson's comments hurt. It hurt a lot of aspects. It hurt the PGA Tour. It hurt us. It hurt the game of golf. It hurt Phil. So, yeah, across all fronts, it wasn't just specifically to us, but it definitely created negative momentum against us. And, of course, this is when Phil Mickelson called Saudi Arabian people scary MFers at one point, if you'll remember that. But then went on to say that he'd overlook all that because the money was great, which I don't know if he realized that's what he was basically saying, is like, yeah, those people are really scary, but they pay a lot, so I'm going anyways. So Greg Norman not exactly happy with Mickelson's comments, nor the backlash that resulted from them. He had to apologize, of course, and then he took his siesta or whatever. But, just interesting that there's still this thing hasn't even gotten off the ground, but there has been a whole lot of drama associated with it already.
I hope the juice is worth the squeeze for all these guys. I mean, it doesn't.
Man, you realize how much they're going to.
There's a lot of juice. There's a lot of juice. But in the long run, and again, the PGA says all these things, but if the right people really went over there, what are they going to say?
Well, that's the thing, is that Norman, I think, is pissed because there's a lot of guys who dropped out as a result of Mickelson's comments. And he even referred to that. He said, we had enough players in our strength of field or minimal viable product ready to come on board. And when all of that happened, referring to Phil's comments and all the backlash and everything, everybody got the jitters. And the PGA Tour threatened people with lifetime bans and stuff like that. But they're planning to move forward. He said they've got a lot of interest from significant players, and they will be patient and deliver these events. And then it will be up to the players on what they want to do as independent contractors.
Will be interesting. He's entered his name in the PGA Championship and U.S. Open. Remember last year had the Kiowa Island won the PGA Championship, the oldest ever to win a major. But he also has made the comment that he was going to play on the LIV Golf Invitational Series in London in June.
He's got an open door.
Yeah.
He's allowed.
The commissioner has basically said if you are a part of the other tour, which might not even be legal, if you're a part of the other tour, you're banned from our tour.
Yeah, that's in so many words.
Yeah.
But Greg Norman did say there's an open door policy for this league. So they will welcome.
League,
they will welcome Phil Mickelson back with open arms. Tonight in the NBA, got a couple of playoff games out of the Eastern Conference. Up 1-0, the Milwaukee Bucks, defending NBA champions, taking on the Celtics. That starts at 6 o'clock Central Time on TNT. It's a TNT doubleheader. That'll be followed by the Warriors and the Grizzlies in Memphis. That'll be an 8:30 Central Time tip-off. The Warriors lead that 1-0. My Mavericks last night didn't want it bad enough. They didn't want it bad enough.
They're young. They're playing a team they're playing a team with a guy that's 38 who's playing like he's 22.
Who cannot miss anything.
Yeah. Booker's just a little bit healthier than he, of course, was. He almost didn't play at the end of last series against the Pelicans. Yeah, usually if you're going to steal a game, I don't know, do you steal it in game one?
I think that I feel good about them in game two, maybe stealing one away. I mean, if the Suns win the series, and look, I'm not throwing in the towel just because of one game, but if the Suns win the series, I mean, that's not going to be a surprise. They're supposed to win the series. But I do think the Mavericks can make it a bit more competitive. I mean, Luka did Luka things, but ultimately the Suns just shot really well. Grab boards. Mavericks definitely suffering from not having a great big man. I think that was very evident last night.
How often, Paul, do you watch NBA basketball?
Once in a while. I mean, I watched a really good Memphis.
I'm telling you right now, it's there on occasion. It's not like I go look for a game, but it is insanely amazing to me how quickly they can score. I mean, Luka threw up like a 35-foot three, like boom. I mean, but it's crazy. They can all get up and down the court, score within what seemed like 2 or 3 seconds.
I probably will watch tonight a little bit and then flip over to the Predators.
I'm not even the biggest NBA fan, but I mean, I enjoy the playoff games and I enjoy the product, and I think that there's a super insane level of athleticism on those courts these days, and just an unbelievable amount of young stars, whether it's a Luka, John Morant, or whoever you want to point to. I mean, they're abundant, and they're stocked with young talent and veteran talent, so it's not a bad time to tune in.
It's weird to me. I was telling Amanda this the other day. We were watching the Memphis Golden State game, which was fantastic. It was a really good game. Draymond Green was ridiculously thrown out of that game for a flagrant 2, but You watch so much college basketball, and a 10-0 run in college basketball is like the most exciting thing that happens if you're a fan of that team. A 10-0 run in the NBA, quick timeout, it's nothing, fine. Yeah. Because everybody can score for the most part. Everybody can score, so the game is different, and it just moves different, which is, and I enjoy all of it. It just, after having to sit through the last two postseasons where following Baylor and having a lot of tension watching that, and then being in the house with someone obsessed with Kansas and watching that, it's weird to watch the NBA and be like, I don't think I get worried until the fourth quarter. Like when the Spurs were winning, I would get worried in the fourth quarter. Like, this is when it's different.
It's a different brand of basketball entirely, the college game and the pro game. Also got hockey, a bunch of game ones tonight. Rangers Penguins starts at 6. You got Caps and Panthers starts at 6. Got Preds and Avalanche at 8:30. And then you've got the Stars and Flames in Calgary starting at 9 o'clock. And I'll leave you all with this. Jackie Robinson, an old bat of his, fetched more than $1 million. It did not quite set a record, but every time there's a big sports souvenir, collectible, what have you, that breaks a record or is just kind of a cool thing. I like to mention it, just kind of into that. Jackie Robinson bat that Jackie Robinson used in 1949's MLB All-Star Game was auctioned, and the sale, $1.08 million.
Does it say what's the most expensive cost of a bat?
The most expensive cost of a bat.
If it's Rogers Hornsby, I'm going to die because that was like back before they had wood. I wonder what that is, because we know about the various baseball cards.
No, I have no idea most expensive bat sold. But that's just a cool souvenir going for $1.08 million, a 1949 MLB All-Star bat. Apparently it was one of two. Okay, here I did see it. It fell just short of the record price. The bat that Babe Ruth hit his first home run ever at Yankee Stadium with sold to a private collector on the East Coast for $1.26 million back in 2004. So that's like $2.4 million now probably for that bat?
Yeah.
I mean, based on inflation and everything. So this fell just short of that, but that's falling just short with 2022 money versus, $200,000 difference.
I'm amazed by how much, I know picture, paintings, whatever. I understand that people have money to buy things like that. But if I gave you a bat, let's say I gave you a David Ortiz bat that was worth $548,000.
That he hit a home run to win a freaking whatever.
Would that make you nervous to even have it in your house?
Yeah, it would. Look, if you... By the way, private collector to me means cocaine dealer. That's what that means.
Politician.
Yeah. Oh, look, this is Babe Ruth bat, the first one he hit at Yankee Stadium with. How much does that cost? You don't even want to know. But I would be terrified to have it in my house.
Yep, so that's a pretty cool collector's item. I'm sure whoever bought that probably has a few other gems as well. But yeah, I'd be a little bit, if I had the money to do that, though, it's not like it's sitting in my apartment. I obviously would have a much different house if I'm buying a bat for over $1 million, and I'd probably, if I'm buying something like that, have a room of some sort with locks on it, and an alarm, and everything else that comes with it, and insurance and all of that. But just a cool collectible. There's a few things off the radar.
I remember when I had documents when my father, Craig's grandfather, passed away. There was a lot of things in there, and I put it in a safe box at the bank. There are checks and stuff. I put it in a safe box at a bank because that's what I would probably do if I had, want to buy the bat so you can show it off. But what was that?
Go ahead.
It's knocking on wood.
Oh, thank you very much. That just made me nervous to have it wherever I lived at the time. All right, when we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, we'll have John McClain at the bottom of the hour, Hall of Fame columnist, his thoughts on the weekend or week after the NFL draft. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. And they are the people that you can count on, whether you're looking to buy new or pre-owned. Richard Carr has the great customer service that will make buying that new or pre-owned vehicle a very simple process for you. They got new cars and trucks that are arriving each and every week. You can go by the dealership in person, or go online to richardcarr.com. That's KARR.com to see their current inventory and see the GMCs, Buicks, and Cadillacs en route to the dealership. And if you want to get that new vehicle as quickly as possible, then identify what you want, pick out what you want, and then put your name on the inbound vehicle list. And by doing that, when that new vehicle arrives, you'll be first in line to pick it up off of the lot. But if you need a car today, you're not looking to necessarily buy new and have to go through the whole waiting process with a new vehicle, since those are so hard to come by at this point, then you can go ahead and jump into a new pre-owned vehicle. All pre-owned vehicles have gone through a 172-point inspection. You can drive them with peace of mind, and they pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. They will say yes when others say no when it comes to loans. And they've been in business for over 23 years now, whether it's their sales or their award-winning collision center and service center. Richard Carr is the dealer that, again, you can count on for a great deal and superior service for the life of your car. Richard Carr, 172-point inspection on the used cars. New cars, get on that inbound vehicle list. Either way, there will be great customer service, and you will walk away, or should I say drive away, a happy customer. Trust the good local people you can count on for over 2 decades now in the greater Waco area. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including barre, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Baylor men's basketball coach Scott Drew has a book out, The Road to Joy. Signings next week on the 10th and 14th. The Baylor University Bookstore on the 10th, and also the Silos on May the 14th. He will join us live on the show Thursday, early on in the show. Now, on earlier today, when we had David Ubben on to talk about college football and the way it is today, here are some of the responses that we received from those of you who read the article. Sometimes you do difficult things because they're the right thing to do, says it all. The tampering has to be stopped. There are a million other issues to eventually work out, but this was the right thing to do. Anyone who denies that is lying to themselves. From Randall, so the average cost of a 4-year education at a Power 5 school is about $300,000. They also get tutors, nutritionists, workout facilities, private strength coaches, trainers, clothes, TV exposure. But do you think that is worth nothing? And should they be celebrated because they can get more cash? So you think we should get rid of amateur sports altogether? Players moving from one school to another chasing money is great.
I mean, the argument there is that all of those things added up don't equal what a share of the actual revenue would be. And that's what, you know, people on the other side of that specific argument would tell you, is that you've got school presidents making millions of dollars and, you know, universities themselves making tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. I mean, if you're an athlete in the SEC or the Big Ten, you hear they're signing $1 billion TV deal. Is your $300,000 a sliver of that? You know what I mean? And that's where they're coming from. Not saying it's right or wrong, but that is the stance there.
From Matthew, the breakdown in leadership in college football, something to behold. I feel like there is just a little more direction. People would stop losing their minds about this brave new world. Leadership and direction just are not coming. The big schools should break away, come up with their own rules.
You're at sea, you're on a ship, and there's a storm coming, and the waves are starting to get rocky, and there is no captain to sea. There is nobody, and none of y'all know how to do it. None of y'all are in charge of driving the boat, and so the guy or the people, the body that's supposed to be driving, they've been on a cruise ship like across the other side of the ocean. They not even realized they've been enjoying champagne and all that. They just figured you were fine. And so, yeah, I mean, it's directionless. Mark Emmert specifically. And please tell me one thing that he did. Well, and tell me anything that this man did during his entire time making all this money to be the head of the NCAA. What did he even do?
Nothing. And look, Miles Brand before him shares a lot of weight in this. And that, look, this track, I remember watching with the Fab Five, 30 for 30. You know, one of the big, Chris Webber's big beef was he's walking by a store and sees a Michigan #2 jersey and goes, how come I don't get that money? Because that's me. You know, a year from now I'll be able to do that. What's the difference? And then the NCAA is like, just because of rules. Had they been reasonable at the time and truly capitalistic, as it really is now? I mean, it's pure capitalism right now in the NCAA. If they had been, even remotely that at that point, they could have avoided all this by just going, all right, well, you know what, that's reasonable. We didn't really think about that. There's a lot more money coming into this. But the problem is that they had this 1965 mindset in 1992 and in 2002 and 2012. And then in 2021, when the dam finally burst and they're like, well, we can't do anything about it. Well, everybody was telling you for 40 years what was about to happen. And instead of going, okay, let's reach some sort of compromise in this so that we still can direct things in a way that makes it reasonable, you just decided, no, I'm going to stick with it this way. Let's drive into the fire
because they were all cashing their big paychecks.
Yeah.
That's why. And now that their money's threatened, now we spring to action.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even about the athletes getting money. It's the athletes getting some of the money that they feel should be their money because they have all the money. And that's as much part of the problem. I will say, going back to the other thing about the tuition and books and dorms and clothing and meals and travel and everything else that a lot of athletes at certain schools do get. That's not every athlete. Like, you're not getting that if you're at Tarleton State. You're not getting that maybe even at Texas State most of the time. But yeah, like big top level, Division I, if you will, schools, that's pretty customary. And that's where I was sort of coming from earlier. There is the personal side of this, of just like the life lessons and things like that don't need to be just brushed to the wayside while guys are making money. Guys make money, but let's also have the cultural part of it remaining intact. Maybe that's the word I was looking for earlier. Rather than it just being like, whoever signed up, like, here's our team. I do think there should be some cultural aspects and some growing of young men and growing of young women and all of that. I don't think we just need to throw that to the wayside over dollars. But on that point about what they do receive, yeah, that's nice. But again, the argument is, well, it's a shell of the billions of dollars that are coming in. But I do think if you're talking about an athlete at, like, I don't know, like I said, like North Texas or something earlier, like maybe they don't have the best, in terms of dispersed, goods and clothing and all the stuff like you get if you're at Tennessee, for example. But that's what bothers me when I start to hear people talk about like indentured slaves and slave labor. It's like, do you even freaking have a clue of like how well treated a lot of these athletes are? Like, if you had any, you clearly are nowhere near a big college campus if you think for one single second that they're not treated exceptionally well in most cases, not every case, but in most cases.
I could go back to when I entered Tyler Junior College. The football team had even perks back then. Now, nothing compared. That's 50 years ago.
No, let's just not act though like let's not act like they're living on the street and they can't find food. And I'm just saying, like, for the people, and that's probably like two people on Twitter who are just trying to cause stuff. But
I think part of that was, a lot of the things that they weren't doing, like they had these really stringent limits on food, and you've got these athletes that need to take in 3,000 calories a day, and then they had the way that they were distributing their food, they'd run out of their food vouchers or stuff by the end of the week.
Yeah.
But they corrected that when that was
kind of a problem.
It was a problem. Yeah. But they, to their credit, they corrected that. And that was partially, they probably corrected it because they said, well, if they can eat now, maybe they won't be mad about not getting paid. But
hey, they're human beings. So let's treat them well.
If the NCAA has lost their cojones, basically been cut off, do you feel like at some point even things like the Reggie Bush name it's been redacted, that it'll be allowed back in? I know that's the minimum, but I'm just.
Well, the argument is that it wasn't legal at the time, but I don't know. I mean, retroactively going back and changing that.
Well, we see statues and things like that taken down by things that were legal at the time. People lose their mind over things that were wrong, but they were okay to do back in the day. Not okay to do. That's the wrong way to.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Though.
Joe Pa's statue can't, and I'm not trying to open up that can of worms and get like angry Penn State guy. Like, that was all. I'm not doing that, but like. That's a little bit of a different scenario. That statue coming down, or the Art Briles statue coming down, if there had ever been one, or whatever. If that scenario had played out, that's a little bit different.
I wonder if Reggie Bush will be his name reintroduced into various record books if this NCAA just completely dissolves.
Well, if it's up to USC, of course, they'll have it all over. They'll have him on the sideline standing next to Lincoln Riley with the Heisman in his hands, if that's what it takes. But. The argument is it wasn't legal at the time, but laws change or rules change, and I wouldn't care on it. I don't care. I don't care if it's in or out.
I don't either.
I don't care.
I think they should, just so that we can stop worrying about it and hope for it. The other thing who won
the Heisman Trophy in 2005? Reggie Bush did. Yeah. Everyone knows that.
I do think this. I remember at the time, like when you hear like, oh, his parents got a couple $1 million for a house, and then I saw the house, I was like, oh, California's got problems. Like $2 million for a house.
That's not great.
I was thinking the house that they put him in was the house he probably lives in now. No, it was not that, and it was a nice house, but like
California's wild, man. We were in Oxnard one time driving by like a rocky region, and there was a house up on a hill, which, hey, that's a great location and everything, but it was a dilapidated piece of crap, and it was $1 million house, just simply because of where
you're going to have to put $1 million into it.
Hey, remember the baseball bat story you had earlier from our good friend in Ohio, Stephen? Speaking of bats, Larry Doby, the first African-American League, gave my father a bat in 1948 after batting practice. My dad back then at the time was 12 years old, so that's a pretty good story to relate to.
I've actually got a bat at my house that you gave me years and years ago after Ranger spring training. It's a Chris Davis bat. I haven't made contact one time with that thing. It's really weird. It's 0 for 100 with that bat.
Yeah.
Can't hit anything. But no, it's cool souvenir.
He was the nicest and still is one of the nicest players who hit a lot of home runs.
Fun.
I felt bad that time we were at spring training. He was taking ground balls at third base next to Adrian Beltre, and I thought, your life's about to change, sir.
Yeah, I know. All right, here's one more on the NIL or David Ubben's story. I know a dinosaur just stuck in my ways. As progress marches on, I look at the same facts as you and come to a thoroughly different conclusion. This is the beginning of the death of college football as we know it. I don't feel fine. I mourn the loss. Why should we even continue with the charade of making student athletes go to class or even track their graduation rates? If every spring many players are going to leave for the highest bidder, the commitment to a university is no longer relevant. Let's just be honest and stop calling it college football. It's minor league professional football, except minor league football would have multi-year contracts. Should players be compensated? Absolutely. Are NIL deals as they work today a good solution? Absolutely not. All right, when we come back, it's 5:25. We'll hear from John McClain of the Houston, well, no longer. He's retired of the Houston Chronicle.
Yeah, you're going to have to get used to not saying that. But, yeah, I mean, I see where everybody on every side's coming from. I mean, I understand the total chaos agents that love just the fact that their Twitter feed stays busy. I mean, I think that's pretty empty. That's just more of just getting that adrenaline jolt, basically, which some people probably need to step away from every once in a while and realize it's really not that good for you. But, so there's people that just like the chaos and don't really care about the ramifications of it. And there are people that, it's just tough to get used to change. And there are people that they're not going to like it no matter what, even if they feel like the basis of it is the correct thing to do, which I think most people do believe it is the correct thing to do. Again, it's the execution of it that is poor. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, especially, talking about these smaller schools, like, not everybody is a diehard season ticket person. And, if Iowa State gets basically, thrown to the wayside entirely to where, they're more relevant than they are right now, then there's probably going to be some fans that walk away. Just like, why? We have no chance. We have no chance. I can't spend my paycheck to get them the new wide receiver. So, those with the big boosters are going to keep winning just like it's always been, basically.
Andy Staples wrote an article last week. We had him on the show. We didn't talk too much about this, but he wrote an article about A&M and their fund and the money that they're raising for NIL and the money that they're also raising for facilities. And right now, there is no conflict of interest. They had a huge meeting. They had a big event. People were able to walk onto the field, etc. But to me, one of the things that would also start to make schools go, wait a minute, with NIL is if money that used to be so easy to get from donors for facilities starts to not be quite as much.
Well, I think that's fine because I think the facilities thing got way out of control. Like that, I've been saying that for like 7 years now. Whenever it was, maybe it wasn't 7 years ago, but whenever Alabama had the red-colored waterfall, or maybe it was Nebraska, that's when I was like, okay, like this is getting stupid because they were arguing, well, we don't have the money to pay players. And it's like, you just have a colored waterfall. And just to be there for these guys to walk by, but you can't give them $100. That makes no sense.
Well, yeah, especially when locker rooms started looking like Wayne Newton's house on Cribs. It's like, he's like, I'm going to take you to go see my penguin farm. And you're like, oh, up yours, Wayne Newton.
No, they started installing barbershops and like it was like, what can we come up with? Like ball pits and, just everything imaginable. But no, don't pay the players. And absolutely, that's where it just got stupid silly. And, now that money, rather than going to a 100-foot colored waterfall or to, a brand new weight something, a sauna or something like that, now that'll actually go to the player who would have been using those things. So in that way, I mean, that is okay with me because it did get a little bit ridiculous, just the excess of we got to spend this money somewhere. I guess we'll trick out the locker room some more.
At LSU, every player had a PlayStation in their locker.
Oh, that's commonplace now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that was the first place to do it, and you're like,
oh, when Texas put in the $10,000 TV screens in every locker. Remember that? Yeah, that's when it got really silly.
When we come back, Hall of Fame writer and columnist John McClain, his thoughts about the draft, the NFL draft, also Jalen Petrie to the Texans and more. Sikkim, 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Go to discoverwoodway.com and get information about the upcoming mother and daughter brunch, which is May 7th, right around the corner, from 11 a.m. until 1:30. Also, there's a coffee with the city manager to discuss local city news and also ideas. That's on May 17th, early in the morning, or not early, at 9 o'clock in the morning. Also, if you want a place to have an event, a wedding, a rehearsal dinner, or any kind of fundraiser, any kind of business meeting, Carling Bright Arboretum is absolutely beautiful. Of course, the pavilion that you want that has windows that show all of the landscape, which at this time of the year in early May, everything is blooming. It is absolutely gorgeous. You have that available as well. The Carling Bright Arboretum is a place that can seat up to 360 people. You can bring in your own caterer for whatever food you want and not be just whatever they give you as a list. It's the city of Woodway. 7 hotels as well if you visit the Waco area. DiscoverWoodway.com.
At Allen Samuels in Waco, we're committed to taking care of our customers, and that means having as much new inventory on hand for you to choose from. During the Memorial Day sales event, shop our large selection of 2022 cars, trucks, and SUVs to find the vehicle that's right for you. Need maintenance or repair? Let our skilled technicians take care of your vehicle, and we'll get you back on the road safer than before. We're not here just to sell you one car. We're here for the long haul. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with NFL Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Sikkim 365 Radio. I want to tell you, everybody, so many of you go over names after names after names that are in the chat room today on so many things college football, but more than that as well. And John McClain, Hall of Fame writer and columnist, joins us. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. John, Jalen Petrie, Houston Texans, we could see it happening, and it did. Your thoughts about the reaction from the Texans and also the reaction from you?
After being coached by Dave Aranda, he's going to love being coached by Lovie Smith. As you know, Lovie's defense is all predicated on playing a lot of zone, looking at the ball, forcing turnovers. They did a great job of that last year. But I'll guarantee you they're not going to play Petrie back in 2-deep coverage. He's going to be around the line of scrimmage as he was at Baylor. He'll cover slot receivers. He'll have a chance for tackles for loss, blitzes. The good thing about him, and I didn't see every game like you guys did in person, but I saw almost all of them on TV and a few in person. And one of the things that everybody likes about him is how smart he is, how quick he diagnoses things. And I predicted today on my talk show here, by his second year, he would be one of the captains. And the talk show guys are like, oh, my God. And I didn't point out, second year, he'll be one of the veterans, the way they've been changing players on this team. So they're going to like him. His teammates are going to like him, as you guys know. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he's not in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Usually that goes to a guy with a lot of sacks. And I expect, like he did at Baylor, he'll have a lot of tackles for loss, 2 or 3 interceptions, a few sacks. And I think it was a great pick. And as I tell everybody, of course I'm partial to Baylor, but I know what a good prospect he was. If he was 6'1", and 210, he would have been a mid-first round pick.
Before him, Derek Stingley and Kenyon Green. After him, Dameon Pierce. This is, I mean, there was not a tall mountain to climb considering they haven't had draft picks for several drafts, but this is the most productive, at least on paper, Texans draft in a long time. John, your thought about their entire haul?
It's the first time I've given the Texans an A ever. I don't remember giving the Oilers too many A's, but when you have 2 first-round picks and you take a corner, if he stays healthy, he can be a perennial Pro Bowler. And they needed a really physical guard. And that's what Kenyon Green was. The Aggies played him all over the line. Texans will put him at left guard next to Laramie Tunsil, and he'll have a chance to kick some butt in the running game. And Pierce, you're talking about a guy in a good position to succeed. Texans had the worst running game in the NFL, the worst in franchise history. The year before, they were 31st. They made significant changes up front. His only competition is Marlon Mack, a free agent from Indy, and Rex Burkhead, who should be the third back. So that guy's got a chance to help. And John Mechie, the receiver from Alabama, is coming off the torn ACL. I look about midway through the season to see him in the slot between Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins, third-round pick last year. So their offense, which was awful, should be substantially better as long as Davis Mills makes the kind of improvement that they expect him to make.
John, I'll go ahead and get another Baylor question out of the way so we can talk about like that wild first round and some other things. But the Texans also signed Drew Estrada, who was just at Baylor for a year but was productive as an undrafted free agent. I know that the road is tough to climb for those guys, but 6 picks for the Bears. I mean, Tyquan Thornton jumps up to number 50 with the Patriots. He had 2 second-rounders, 2 third-rounders, and then, a couple stragglers there at the end to make it 6. And then, a bunch of undrafted free agents as well. I mean, obviously things are going well in Waco, but have you ever really kind of seen a haul like that for the Bears?
Have the Longhorns had anybody drafted yet?
Not yet. I think they might have a pick coming up here pretty soon.
I think they're on like round 24.
Yeah.
Maybe the Longhorns will have somebody. I love being able to say that 2 times in 7 years. I had a friend of mine, a longtime columnist in Boston, call me today and want a rundown on Thornton and Bernard. And I said I was in shock that Thornton was drafted in the second round because, I thought he'd go in like the fourth round, even though he's the fastest receiver in the draft. And that is a great deal for him. And I gave him a rundown, and I told him they're going to like Bernard. If he stays healthy, I think he'll be a great contributor on special teams, get playing time this season, could be a starter next season. But I'm sure you guys weren't expecting Thornton to go in the second round either. But that's great for Baylor. When you see Thornton and Petrie going in the second round, and I think it's great. Baylor got a lot of attention before, during, and after the draft.
Yeah, they really did. And every one of them a neat story, because none of those guys, I'm not saying none, but a lot of them were guys that were that came either right at the end of the Art Briles regime or Matt Rule, obviously Dave Aranda, and they all just seemed to be great stories that they overcame not being 4- and 5-star players. They overcame changing positions. They overcame bad years. And I just can't imagine. They got to be tough, ready for whatever faces them. Whether they can make the league or not remains to be seen.
They're mentally tough. They also have different position coaches, different systems. That'll make it easier for them to adjust. I remember when Petrie was the only commitment who stayed, didn't do much right at first. In the last 2 years, of course, he blossomed into a big-time NFL prospect. And, of course, being from Houston, people are so excited. His family's excited. He was excited. And I think he'll be a day one starter. And as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be around for a long time and be a real asset to the organization.
Did you have any idea you only lived 10 minutes away from NRG? That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, actually, Stafford is one of our suburbs. And he was so excited. The first two picks, let me just say, Derek Stingley Jr. and Kenyon Green were not the best talkers in the world. And then they put Petrie out there, and he blew everybody away with his personality. And I asked him right off the bat, why did you stay at Baylor when all the other commits left? And he gave a really good answer about Baylor, the school, the people, the thing about, he credited God. He said all the right things about staying, and it certainly paid off for him because he's making good money. And if he stays healthy and plays well, after 3 years, he'll get a humongous contract.
John, what did you think of the chaos of all the wide receivers and A.J. Brown getting traded to the Eagles and Marquise Brown going to the Cardinals and all that happened?
I thought Marquise Brown being traded from the Ravens to the Cardinals is because they needed speed to replace Christian Kirk. But DeAndre Hopkins has never been fast. That's why the Texans got him 27th in the first round, because he ran like a 4.7. But it's obvious they knew he was being suspended. It was held till after the draft because they knew it was going to get a lot of negative publicity around the league. He'll come back stronger than ever. In all his years with the Texans, he only missed 2 games because of injuries and could have played in one of them. Said he would have played with a broken bone in his arm if the game had meant anything at the end of the 2017 season. Brown was a shocker. Every team in the AFC South stood up and cheered, especially the Texans. Brown had burned them so bad ever since he came into the league. It's amazing right now, Paul, if you think about some teams have no reservations about taking wide receivers and giving them monster contracts, while others say, nope, we can get young guys, keep them, develop them, and spend that money on other positions. And I can't wait to see how this turns out for Devontae Adams, for Tyreek Hill, for A.J. Brown. Hollywood Brown had 91 catches last year with Lamar Jackson missing half the year, and yet he wasn't happy in that offense. So maybe he'll be happy playing with Kyler Murray, but I've never seen anything like it. The receivers are such divas today, most of them, but they're getting what they want.
You know, what's interesting is that, you have these guys that in this day and age, they usually get what they want. It's always about the money, as you mentioned, but some of them are saying this and that. And hell, some NFL franchises said, screw you, we're sending you somewhere else. Whether they made enough back in return collateral-wise remains to be seen, but I guess in a way, I kind of like it. You don't want to be here. You don't think we're doing well enough? Bye. Although Hollywood Brown got $100 million or whoever it was pretty quickly.
A.J. Brown got $25 million a year. He wanted 22 from the Titans. They said, we're not going to do it. And they took Traylon Burks, a similar receiving prospect from Arkansas. But in about 2-3 years, we'll look back and see how it worked. Now, the question is, will Deebo Samuel be next?
John, what did you think of this crop of quarterbacks that, we saw, Kenny Pickett in the first round, and then it was quite a wait after that?
Craig, right after the season, before the All-Star games and before the combine and the pro days and the private workouts, everybody says a mediocre quarterback draft. None may go in the first round, but some teams will reach. And then when they started working out in shorts and T-shirts and throwing against air, everybody was like oohing and eyeing at Malik Willis's arm and some of the passes he completed at the combine when nobody was rushing him or covering the receivers. And then they all must have gone back and looked at the tape and came to their senses. So getting guys like Sam Howell in the 5th round, Ritter and Corral and Willis in the 3rd round, those are great value picks. There's no pressure on them at all when they're in that situation. I think Willis to the Titans, give him a year behind Tannehill. He could be their starter in 2023, and then they'd be able to get out from under Tannehill's contract. He's got the highest cap figure in the NFL.
John, the Cowboys offseason has been very uneventful. The draft didn't go how a lot of fans wanted to go. I mean, and Tyler Smith could turn out to be a road grader there at guard. But what do you think is going on in Dallas with the perception of their team from their perspective as opposed to the rest of the league? Because on paper, they're not better than they were at 12-5 right now last year.
Well, they don't have contract problems. They don't have a quarterback coming off a season-ending injury. It seems most of the excitement comes from Jerry and his daughter, the new daughter, and how that's going to play out. And I kind of think that's good, but they have invested so much in offensive linemen. And what has it got him? I remember one time Al Davis, we were at a league meeting, and he and I were talking about the old AFL days, and he said, I never pass up a player who can score touchdowns or throw touchdowns. Give me the guys who can put it in the end zone first, and we'll fill in on the other positions. And I think that was a philosophy that you don't see much anymore. Everybody wants to build their offensive line to protect the quarterback and try to have a decent running game. But Cowboys, I don't know if any team has invested in offensive linemen as much as they have going over the last, back over the last 10 years.
John, thank you. And you wonder about during that time, I know Travis Frederick's career ended early, but you have a Hall of Famer in Zach Martin, a Hall of Famer in Tyron Smith, and then you look up, they've had some years that were pretty good, but nothing really other than that to show for it. And you wonder if they've lost that window with such great players up front on the offensive line. All right, John, thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Sick 'em.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us every Tuesday at around 5:30. When we come back, Paul Catalina will wrap up this Tuesday with the top 5, Sick 'em 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrapped fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Brad Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 post-Cowboys draft questions. Or post-draft Cowboys questions. You know what I mean. But there are still a lot of questions around this team, which I'll continue. Look, if the offseason of Matt works, then great. I'll happily eat my words. But it's been a long time. We're on the downside of the upper 20s of not being in a Super Bowl for the Cowboys. So, there's going to be questions until they do finally win one again. Number 5, how confident are they in the Kelvin Joseph situation? They didn't draft a cornerback. Oh, they drafted one cornerback in the 5th round. So I wouldn't think that he has any real chance of starting. That's more of a value pick later on. So drafting a cornerback in the 5th round to me doesn't say that they're worried about Kelvin Joseph, but that might be naive to think that they shouldn't be worried about Kelvin Joseph.
I don't know how you can. You never know what Roger Goodell is going to do.
Also, what are those other 2 guys going to say once they're in there about him? Because clearly they've arrested the 2 guys that were in the car with him that allegedly perpetrated that crime. But, we don't know what they've said about him yet either.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been arrested. We haven't heard anything really in a couple weeks on that front. But, yeah, I think you got to be a little bit worried about what Goodell may do. There's no exact science with that. as we've seen in previous years with previous players. So, I think you got to be a little bit concerned about it. But, until the NFL decides what they're going to do, I mean, it's kind of out of your control.
Yeah. Number 4, if they didn't add a running back, which they did not, at least not in the actual draft, do they feel better about Zeke, or is this just something they didn't find somebody that they liked? Because I thought they would maybe, like we talked about it, I thought Abram Smith or a guy like Dameon Pierce who went in the 4th round, but guys like that to me made sense for them in the 4th, 5th round because you got to prepare for life without Zeke when his contract can come off next year if he is as ineffective as he was last year.
Do they not have Tony Pollard?
Yeah,
they do. But he's also he's not a 1st-round pick, so he'll be coming up for his contract as well. Yeah,
but why take a flyer on a mid-round guy when he's still on your team and you can just draft a guy much higher next year like Bijan or something?
Yeah, true.
That's the thing is they're not really in a spot where they need somebody this season, so. I can understand it to an extent. I mean, if they would have grabbed somebody, I would have been totally fine with that. But, I mean, who knows? I mean, I know Zeke's probably going to get some big free agent deal somewhere, but he's got to have a good year first, I mean, he's not getting younger. And quite frankly, I'm curious as to what Cowboys fans would think because I'm not one of them myself. I've just always, covered them and been around them. And so I don't have, that typical rival hatred for them like most people would. But I'm just curious, when Zeke's time in Dallas is done, how that's going to be remembered. Because, man alive, about 3 years ago, you would have thought that they were about to rip off 5 Super Bowls in a row. He was going to be the rushing champ every year, and there was just going to be nothing stopping him. And he hadn't been the same in, a couple seasons. I mean, it's just been kind of... Not to say he's not good by any means, but it's not what it started out as. That's for sure.
He's not one of the more dominant backs in the NFL right now. He's still a good player and
he's still very good
and well respected in that team. But there's a video, it's pre-draft video on the Cowboys page, which please subscribe to the Cowboys page, Dallas Cowboys 365 on YouTube. But I did a video with RJ Ochoa last week from Blogging the Boys, and he's of the mindset that the Cowboys can't really move forward until they get out of the idea that feed Zeke is what's going to move them forward, because that's kind of over.
Yeah, no, I feel like it is. I mean, I feel like they've kind of almost signaled that it is in a way. So I won't be surprised at all if he's gone after that contract ends.
Yeah. Number 3, are you happy with the offensive line now? Does Tyler Smith change things for them? My question remains, and I'll say this: Tyler Smith might want to be excellent at guard. He might be. I'm not sure this is the coaching staff to make him that way, given the fact that their offensive line, even when healthy last year, took gigantic steps back. Are they going to make him better? And look, he's still young, so the next staff could come in and make him better. But that's why I question this pick is that, okay, you reached on a guy because you really liked him, but are you the guys that can really handle this? Because you kind of showed that you're not.
On my way back from seeing Jennifer and Daniel over the weekend, I was driving back and was listening to the Cowboys flagship. Chris Arnold is pretty good, man. He knows his stuff. And he was talking about how this draft was all about building, like a rebuild, not something like that. And the tone was they drafted a bunch of nasty, mean players because they got embarrassed by the 49ers in their home stadium, right? Mm-hmm. They got intimidated. That doesn't mean you're good. Eric Williams was a hell of a player, and he was nasty, right? I don't know if I feel any better about their offensive line today than I did going into the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel, I guess, slightly better because they just have more options, but that's the only reason to really feel that way. I mean, if he develops into the, fitting more of the player role of where he was selected, then I think that it'll be great if they could point and laugh at people and say, see, gave us all this hell a couple years ago, and look at it now. Because, I mean, I listened to Philip Montgomery, his college coach who used to be here at Baylor, and he talked about the penalties and didn't think it was that big of a deal, and a lot of it did have to do with his nasty streak. So, if that's the deal and they're just trying to get tougher and meaner, then I think that'll probably be good for them.
Now, I will negate or debate what Philip Montgomery said, considering he's in the coaching tree of penalties are not a big deal.
No, that's true. That is true.
So we all know that Art Briles didn't care about him. Didn't care one bit.
So it didn't matter.
Didn't matter because you could.
Oh, really? It's 2nd and 25. Okay, here's a 28-yard pass.
Yeah. Until you played a team that was really good, and then it does.
Yeah, it does.
Michigan State can attest to that. Number 2, do you add any more free agents? They've said they're not done with free agency, but I could see Jadeveon Clowney maybe being kicked around. Jason Pierre-Paul, Joe Schobert, a linebacker who is a tackling machine, who's been with the Steelers and Jaguars. A guy who'd be a nice rotational piece for them. Maybe like an Emmanuel Sanders is still out there if you're not completely happy with the wide receivers, but I still don't think they're going to do this outside. I mean, this might happen in like June 10th or something like that, where they kind of add a random, but they might because
Odell
there's still
Beckham is unsigned. He's coming off the injury. Antonio Brown, boy, he'd fit in. He'd fit in at Dwayne
People
Brown.
want that really bad.
Jadeveon Clowney.
They do?
People want that, like, they're not people in the Cowboys, but there are media people who are like, every time Antonio Brown, he could go to the Cowboys.
Oh, I wonder why media people would like that. Oh, because they can write about it all the time. Stop listening to media people, and I know I'm one of them, but typically when they're saying they want certain things, it's because they benefit from it. That's why. There's no good reason whatsoever to want Antonio freaking Brown and the Cowboys. That would be a dumb move.
There was a time when they would have done that.
Oh, yeah, like 10 years ago, they would have done it in a heartbeat and given him 88. I mean, they would have done that back in the day, but no, they do not need Antonio Brown. That is just you wanting to have some stories.
Big name receivers, Julio Jones is available, Jarvis Landry's available. If it's going to be somebody, would it be a wide receiver or an offensive lineman?
I wonder about J.C. Treader, who was the center for the Browns. Tyler Biotish on the offensive line doesn't inspire a lot of confidence that maybe if the left guard is better next to him, then maybe he'll be better. So
Dwayne Brown's available, offensive tackle, Seattle, but now that
I don't think they're going to.
Not going to.
I think they're pretty
Clowney,
set.
for some reason, is like somebody that would be a name that would get them some pop.
You just said it. He's a name.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He's a name. But everybody knows a name.
But that is something that even with what McClay's done or Stevens done or whoever's done, that's something that might still be on the radar.
Yeah. And number 1, how many starters did you draft?
One.
Probably just one, and maybe.
Is it the receiver?
Well, I mean, Tyler Smith is going to start no matter what, but Tolbert would be 2.
No matter what. What if he's not any good?
Yeah.
That'll be another story.
Yeah, that would be another one. And Sam Williams, who wants to go by D. Williams, apparently. D. Williams, he is not going to start. He's just not. He's going to be a rotational player, and he might be a nice piece because he's a very good pass rusher, but again, he also comes with some off-the-field
situational
baggage.
Player and some off-the-field baggage. Exactly right.
I think Antonio Brown could catch a bunch of touchdowns for the Cowboys, but I know there's a blow-up coming at some point or another, and that's just not worth it to me. But he is a good player. There's no denying that. But you know what's going to happen. There's going to be something occurring in like week 14 or something when he's pissed about Dak not throwing it to him enough that it just blows up the whole thing. I just don't think that's worth the risk.
Tyron Smith always injured. Texas Boyle mentioned that. He's injury prone.
But yeah, I mean, I think they grab maybe a couple, but they don't really need a lot of starters. I mean, that's the thing.
If they end up with more than 1 or 2, that'll be shocking.
Yeah, but I mean, how many did they truly need?
I think they needed 5.
5?
I mean, honestly, to me, they needed 5 guys to start, and of course, part of that is I'm throwing in that outside of Curse, I'm not nuts about their safety situation. Of course, they don't care.
Okay, so this is a replay of a show from 2008.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's basically been the same story every single year.
Yeah, since Roy Williams got too big and they didn't move him to linebacker, which Smoak did an interview with him one time and said, "Would you have moved to linebacker if they asked you to?" He goes, "Of course I would have."
Yeah.
Yeah, what am I? No, I'll leave the league.
Yeah,
I'll just not make NFL money by switching positions. Yeah, of course he would have.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
and he'd have been good at that.
Yeah,
probably would have been really good at it.
Yep. All right, Paul. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we'll re-rack it up at 3:00. Thanks to Jack McKenzie at Armstrong Sims. Also, is Emery doing his deal from
remotely.
Emery, we miss you, and I need you to sign a piece of paper for me, by the way, and it has a check to me. No, I'm just kidding about that, but I need you to sign something for me when you get back in the studio. Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoak, thank you, all of you. The chat room has been amazing today for most everybody, and also those who text us as well. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.